Chapter 877. Update. Get on FQ as soon as possible. H equals Su Yi's gaze swept across the three ships. There were a total of 15 disciples from the Sea Dragon gang. Their aura fluctuated and filled the air with killing intent. Phew, Su Yi secretly let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, from the aura of the Sea Dragon gang's disciples, the strongest among them was an old man who had just reached the first level of Yuanzhen realm. If they were to put up a fight, they might still have a chance. We are in big trouble now. They are after me. I will hold them back first. If there is a chance, you should think of a way to escape first. Go to Xianjian sect and tell them about it. Someone will reward you accordingly. Ji Hanua frowned. There were so many disciples from the Sea Dragon gang, and each of their aura was much stronger than the ones who chased after her. These were the true elites of the Sea Dragon gang. She knew that she would not be able to escape. This person was not the target of the Sea Dragon gang. She hoped that there was a 1 in 10,000 chance that she could escape. As long as the news reached Xianjian sect, she would not be in big trouble. Su Yi was moved. This woman did not forget about him at this critical moment. Although she wanted him to inform Xianjian sect, at least she still had some conscience. Surrender. Let's see where you can run to. This little girl is so cunning. She actually switched and escaped. She made us get scolded by the vice leader. Several disciples of the Sea Dragon gang looked gloomy, and their killing intent fluctuated. This little girl had escaped, and they had all been reprimanded by the deputy gang leader. If they couldn't find this little girl, they would all be in trouble. At this moment, seeing this girl, their mood could be imagined. How are you in the water? I will hold them back. You go into the water first. This is your only chance. But the Sea Dragon gang members are good in the water. How much chance you have depends on your luck. Ji Hanua came to Su Yi's side. The sword in her hand was emitting a green light. Her pale face was looking at the figures on the three ships vigilantly. Whoosh! Just as Ji Hanua finished her words, a figure flashed on the ship and Su Yi's figure disappeared. Ji Hanua only felt a blur in front of his eyes, and the figure in front of him disappeared. He was stunned for a moment, and then the look in his eyes changed. Chi La! The surface of the water surged, and a figure swept out like an afterimage. When Su Yi's figure appeared again, he was already in front of a small boat at the front. The Yuan Qi under his feet swept, as if he was crossing a river on a reed. His body rose into the air like a ghost, and a big saber suddenly appeared in his hand. Whoosh! He slashed out with his saber. The saber light was like lightning, and the crimson light was like a rainbow. In an instant, it descended like a thunderbolt. Whoosh! Almost at the same time, Su Yi's figure shot out, as if he was traversing through the void. The red Yuan Qi under his feet was like a red storm, and with a backhand slash, he slashed to the side. Buzz! It was too fast. The two sabers seemed to resound with the roar of a dragon. It was like a thunderstorm. The saber light was resplendent as it chopped down with an incomparably ferocious stance. The surrounding waves immediately surged, and huge waves soared into the sky. Chi-la-la, there was no turning back. Under the two sabers, the two ships were directly chopped into pieces like tofu. The swift and fierce saber light swept across. The Sea Dragon gang's disciples had yet to come back to their senses. Under their horrified gazes, they were directly turned into a blood mist. Not good. There's an expert. Quickly go into the water. On the third boat, the strongest level 1 Yuanzhen realm old man shouted. He could feel the aura of the former, which made him shiver for no reason. There was actually an expert beside the former. His first reaction was that there was an expert from the Xianjian sect. Immediately, he rushed out, wanting to dive into the water. As long as they were in the water, they would have an advantage. At least, their chances of survival would be much higher. Buzz! Above the void, there was a saber light rotating, like an arc of lightning, like a crescent moon across the void. The faint shadow of the saber light was like the shadow of a dragon. Just as the last disciple of the Sea Dragon gang wanted to escape, it had already landed. Boom! As the saber light landed, the terrifying pressure was fierce and violent. The surrounding waves were like a violent dragon dancing, destroying everything. The surroundings of the boat almost turned into a huge whirlpool, and then the boat was shattered into pieces. Screams of agony could be heard as a few Sea Dragon gang disciples were killed. Even the 50-year-old Yuan Zhen stage martial artist was no exception. Above the void, Su-yi landed on the surface of the sea. His feet tapped on the ground and his yuan qi swept out. Like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, his figure jumped back onto the boat. Everything happened in a short period of time, and then the surroundings calmed down. Su-yi withdrew the saber in his hand. His face, which had recovered a little bit of color, turned pale again. He stuffed a few elixirs in his hand into his mouth. Looking at the figure in front of her, Ji Hanuo was dumbfounded. Under the moonlight, the big eyes on her fair face almost popped out of her eye sockets. At this moment, Ji Hanuo realized that the strength of this young guy in front of her was actually so strong. His attacks were clean and ruthless. How much longer before we can go ashore? Su-yi ignored Ji Hanuo's astonishment and asked. These 10 disciples of the Sea Dragon gang were probably just scouts. It wouldn't be long before the real experts of the Sea Dragon gang came. They had to leave as soon as possible, or else they would be in big trouble. With our current speed, we can go ashore in about 20 hours. Hearing Su-yi's words, Ji Hanuo came back to her senses. 20 or so hours, Su-yi couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. There was still a whole day's time. You continue to heal, we have to leave this place as soon as possible. Knowing that there was no time to delay and no other choice, Su-yi said helplessly. Yuan Qi swept out from the soles of his feet, and he continued to urge the boat to go ashore as soon as possible. Ji Hanuo hesitated for a moment, her expression slightly changed. She then continued to sit cross-legged, closed her eyes, and began to circulate her qi to heal her injuries. The waves gently brushed, the sea and the sky were the same color, and the heaven and earth were vast. Wu, not knowing where it came from, or if it came from a distant place, there was a beast's roar echoing in the night sky. Su-yi urged the boat to move quickly, not daring to have the slightest delay. He looked around vigilantly, but he didn't find any people of the Sea Dragon gang chasing after them. In the vast sea, there wasn't even an island to be seen. The sky gradually brightened, and at the intersection of the sea and the sky, a touch of white appeared in the east. Ji Hanuo's aura was restrained, and the yuan qi that lingered on the surface of her body drilled into her body. She opened her eyes, and there was a flicker of light in her eyes. Her pale face seemed to have recovered a little. Chapter 878. It was a face with shoulder-length black hair that was slightly disheveled, and an angular face was faintly discernible. His seemingly thin figure was tall and straight, and his skin was not fair. Instead, it revealed a faint bronze color, and he naturally had a complicated temperament that could not be concealed. Ji Hanuo couldn't help but take a few more glances at such a young man. Her heart was even more shaken and rippled. This young man's age wasn't much different from hers, but last night, he killed the Sea Dragon gang's members in a clean and swift manner. His strength had actually reached such a powerful stage. Let me do it. You take a break, Ji Hanuo said. She could see that the young man before her had some serious injuries on his body. His aura was somewhat weak, and the exhaustion of the night had made him even weaker. However, he had been persevering. Okay. Su-yi saw that Ji Hanuo had stopped her breathing to heal her injuries. After a night, she seemed to have recovered a little. He also needed to take a break. Without any hesitation, Su-yi took Ji Hanuo's place. He sat cross-legged at the stern of the boat and began to heal his injuries. A moment later, A scarlet light spread out from Su Yi's body. Yuan Qi rippled, and a rumbling sound could be faintly heard from his body. An invisible pressure spread out. What a powerful pressure! The cultivation technique he's practicing must be extraordinary. Ji Hanua was shocked. She could be considered as someone with good eyesight. Sensing the aura on Su Yi's body, she could tell that this young man called Su Yi must be practicing an extraordinary cultivation technique. Whoosh! Ji Hanua's cultivation was obviously not as high as Su Yi's, but the speed of the boat was not much slower than Su Yi's. The sky was getting brighter and brighter. A red sun rose from the horizon, emitting thousands of rays of golden light. It was incomparably gorgeous. As the morning glow shone, the sea surface was suffused with golden waves of light, illuminating Ji Hanua's slightly childish yet youthful face. As the sea breeze gently brushed past, her figure was exquisite and curvaceous. Turning her head to look at the youth at the stern of the ship, Ji Hanua could not help but take a closer look. Distinct facial features, slightly messy shoulder-length black hair, bronze skin, and the complicated aura on his body. All of these gave her a feeling that this youth called Su Yi before her had experienced many things and had many stories to tell. Su Yi healed himself. He revolved the primordial origin supreme art to refine the remaining spiritual whiskers and spiritual liquid energy in his body. Although he wasn't healing in the mysterious space, Su Yi recovered quite quickly with the energy of the spirit whiskers and spirit liquid, as well as the power of the origin supreme technique. However, this time, his injuries were too serious. It even affected his foundation, so it was a bit slow. The great void spirit sea had been successfully cultivated. The vital qi in Su Yi's body surged and rumbled. Within the spirit sea, fluorescent light rippled like the sun. Hula, as time passed, there was a long ripple on the surface of the sea. It was like an arrow, leaving a long ripple mark and setting off waves. Rumble! Suddenly, the small boat trembled. Huge waves rose and almost overturned the boat. Su Yi suddenly woke up. He retracted his breath and opened his eyes. At the same time, he had already stood up. Not good, the sea dragon gang's barbaric beasts have caught up. Ji Hanua's face was solemn. She looked around vigilantly and her expression changed. Woo-woo, a strange woo-woo sound came from the depths of the water. Huge waves surged around the small boat as if forming a whirlpool, trapping the boat and spinning it. Not good. No matter how Ji Hanua urged the boat, she couldn't break out. The small boat was swept by the huge waves and kept swaying and spinning. It seemed that it would be overturned and shattered at any time. Bang, 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 3 loud sounds were heard. 3 huge creatures jumped out from the huge waves. 3 enormous black sharks leaped out of the water. Their enormous bodies were over 100 feet long. Their entire bodies were serene and suffused with a black glow. Their bloody mouths were suffused with a baleful aura that caused one to do evil. Their sharp fangs added a sinister chill to their appearance. The 3 behemoths surged, stirring up monstrous waves. The surrounding waves were like tornadoes that lifted the small boat dozens of feet high. If it wasn't for Ji Hanua's Yuan Qi, the boat would have been shattered. Black demon black shark. Su Yi had never seen this barbaric beast before. However, he recognized it. It's an aquatic barbaric beast whose bloodline isn't low. It's huge and extremely ferocious. These are the Sea Dragon Gang's barbaric beasts. Since they're here, the Sea Dragon Gang's experts must be nearby. Ji Hanua's face turned pale. Putting aside the fact that the Sea Dragon Gang's experts weren't far away, just these 3 black demon black sharks were already hard for them to deal with. These 3 black demon black sharks were at the 9th level of the demon spirit realm. Now that they're in the water, it's even harder to deal with them. Evil creatures, scram. On the boat, Su Yi's gaze sank. He circulated the origin supreme art within his body, and a domineering destructive aura spread out. Whoa! In an instant, the 3 black demon black sharks seemed to have sensed something. As they leaped out of the water, their ferocious eyes were filled with horror. Amidst the whining and roaring sounds, they trembled in fear and crawled on the surface of the water. The look in their ferocious eyes was completely replaced by fear. Looking at the scene before her, Ji Hanua's eyes were filled with shock. She looked at Su Yi in complete shock. She clearly saw how Su Yi's roar made the 3 black demon black sharks crawl in fear. "Let's go." Su Yi's face was grave. Just as he expected, the Origin Supreme art could also suppress the barbaric demon beasts in the water. But the appearance of these 3 black demon black sharks meant that the Sea Dragon Gang's experts weren't far away. Su Yi couldn't help but worry. Circulating Yuan Qi under his feet, Su Yi urged the boat to move quickly. He then asked Ji Hanua, "How much longer until we reach the shore?" "About 6 hours. Ji Hanua recovered from her shock and looked around. She then said to Su Yi, "But we only have to hold on for 2 hours. There should be plenty of merchant ships in front of us. The Sea Dragon Gang wouldn't dare to attack a place with a lot of people. I don't think they have the guts to do so. I'm afraid that we won't make it in time." Su Yi narrowed his eyes. From behind, there were black dots rapidly approaching. He was afraid that the Sea Dragon Gang's experts had already caught up to them. "It's the Sea Dragon Gang." Following Su Yi's gaze, Ji Hanua turned around and frowned her brows. A 3-foot-long sword was tightly gripped in her hand. Whoosh! Su Yi didn't say anything. The Yuan Qi under his feet quickly surged as he urged the boat to move faster. Whirr! Strange cries kept coming from behind. The black dots were getting bigger and clearer. 4 huge beast silhouettes were half revealed from the water. On their backs, there were several figures standing, emitting an oppressive, baleful aura. "You can't escape." Chapter 879. They were 4 gigantic black demon sharks. Compared to the 3 9th-level demon spirit realm black demon sharks that Su Yi previously intimidated, their auras were much stronger. They were all in the 1st or 2nd level of the demon true realm. On the backs of the 4 black demon sharks, there were dozens of Sea Dragon Triad disciples. Many of them were in the Yuan true realm. Their auras fluctuated with terrifying killing intent. All of them were in the 4th or 5th level of the Yuan true realm. "This is really troublesome." Ji Hanua's face was grave. This was a group of experts from the Sea Dragon Triad. Ji Hanua knew that Su Yi's strength was beyond his imagination, but it was impossible for him to deal with so many experts from the Sea Dragon Triad. From the auras that spread out behind him, Ji Hanua knew that there were several Demon True Realm Black Demon Sharks and several Yuan True Realm experts. No matter how strong Su Yi was, he was only around the same age as him. No matter how strong he was, it was impossible for him to deal with so many experts from the Sea Dragon Triad. "You go first. Don't wait for me. I'll catch up with you." Right at this moment, as Ji Hanua's voice faded, his vision blurred. Su Yi's figure disappeared once again. Like a series of afterimages, he reappeared above the ocean. His figure swept out, Yuan Qi surged from the soles of his feet. Su Yi leapt into the air for a short period of time. His robe fluttered and his hair fluttered behind him. The aura from his body was like the wrath of thunder. His eyes were like torches as his right foot stomped down. In an instant, a Yuan Qi whirlpool swept out from Su Yi's feet like a storm towards a first-level demon true realm black demon shark. Rings of black earth attributed Yuan Qi swept out like wave. Boom, as his foot landed, the ocean trembled and the air rumbled. Monstrous waves were set off in the surroundings. Not good. Someone on the back of the black demon shark had a drastic change in expression. His Yuan Qi surged as he retreated. Whirr. The black demon shark seemed to have felt something. Its eyes were filled with horror and its beast soul trembled. Bang! Without any hesitation, Su Yi stomped down on the head of the black demonic shark, who was at level 1 demon true realm. Crack crack, where Sui landed, the head of the black demon black shark cracked. Cracks as thick as an arm spread across the head like a spider web before it exploded and turned into a bloody mist. Several panicked figures couldn't retreat in time and were directly blasted away. Some of them spat out blood and smashed into the water. Walala, the surrounding water began to ripple rapidly, raising huge waves that were hundreds of feet high. Woo, the eyes of the remaining 3 black demon black sharks trembled violently. They roared and crawled, directly overturning the Sea Dragon Gang disciple on their backs into the water. He's a tough opponent. Let's deal with him together. Huge waves surged into the sky, and a figure soared into the sky. The Yuan Qi under his feet condensed into the shadow of a flying barbaric beast and soared into the air. Awoo! A figure leaped out from the water. The Yuan Qi under his feet condensed into the shadow of a barbaric beast in the water, as if he was walking on the water. One figure after another leaped out and a fierce aura burst out. When they gathered together, it was terrifying. The surrounding water surged into huge waves, forming a frenzy. Swoosh! Su-Yi crushed the level 1 demon true realm black demon black shark with his feet. Without any delay, he leaped out again, and a huge saber appeared in his hand. Crimson fire attributed Yuan Qi suddenly surged around Su-Yi's body. Traces of fire attributed Yuan Qi that seemed to have solidified spread out from the void, and instantly twined around the huge saber. Boom! Without holding back his aura, Su-Yi's level 1 Yuan True Realm aura burst out. A blazing storm emerged, and the energy swept across in all directions. Although Su-Yi's injuries were severe, and he hadn't recovered much, his level 1 Yuan True Realm cultivation was genuine. Mad Dragon Overlord / The surrounding space instantly spread out into a small blazing storm, and a violent and sharp aura emerged from it. Without any hesitation, Su-Yi held the saber with both hands, and chopped down with both arms, fiercely chopping towards the group of Sea Dragon Gang disciples in front of him. Chi, the saber light was like lightning, as if it was dragging a long red thunderbolt, and an earth-shattering crimson aura swept out. Awoo, within the saber light, there seemed to be a vague shadow of a crimson dragon, and a violent and sharp aura exploded. Not good, quickly disperse. Someone exclaimed, and his expression changed drastically. This kind of aura was too terrifying. Rumble, as the saber light chopped down, some of the Sea Dragon Gang disciples were directly turned into a bloody mist. Wherever the saber light passed, a crimson dragon soared into the sky, and waves surged violently. The scene was terrifying. Some experts quickly retreated, but they were also affected. More Sea Dragon Gang disciples vomited blood, and the barbaric beast shadows under their feet were shattered by the shockwave and fell into the sea. Whoosh! With Yuan Qi gushing out from the soles of his feet, Su-Yi stepped on the waves, and directly landed on the back of a level 2 demon true realm black shark that was crawling on the side. The Origin Supreme technique surged in his body, and he shouted, "Go!" Woo-woo, the black shark whined and did not dare to resist. Its fierce eyes were filled with fear, and it immediately rushed out. "Kill them!" Su-Yi shouted at the remaining 2 level 1 demon true realm black shark. His eyes shone with a dazzling crimson light, and he used the Origin Supreme technique to suppress them. Woo-woo, the 2 first-level demon true stage black demon sharks seemed to hesitate for a moment. Soon after, they let out a strange woo-woo sound. Their huge bodies stirred up huge waves, and black light filled the air. Their eyes revealed an ominous glint as they directly attacked the remaining Sea Dragon Gang disciples. What's going on? Not good. The remaining Sea Dragon Gang disciples were dumbfounded. The barbaric beast mounts that they trained had paid a huge price, but now they actually obeyed the orders of others, and even attacked them. Rumble, the battle was on the verge of breaking out. Terrifying waves surged and rays of light shot out. Terrifying energy waves swept up frenzied waves. Although there were a few Yuan True Realm experts among the remaining Sea Dragon Gang disciples, the two Level 1 Demon True Realm Black Sharks obviously had a lot of advantages in the sea region. Wu under Su Yi's feet, the Level 2 Demon True Realm Black Shark quickly rushed out and soon reached Ji Hanua's side. The waves fluctuated and the boat shook violently. Ji Hanua's eyes were lifeless. She saw the scene behind her with her own eyes, and her eyes were completely filled with shock. "Come up quickly," Su Yi shouted and signaled Ji Hanua to get on the back of the black shark. The speed of this Level 2 Demon True Realm Black Shark was much faster than the speed of the boat. Coo-coo, hearing Su Yi's words, Ji Hanua came back to her senses, and she swallowed her saliva. L% a genuine /S first issue. Chapter 880. I'm just an ordinary person, Su Yi lightly replied. As his voice faded, a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. You're injured again? Ji Hanua furrowed her brows. There was a hint of seriousness in her eyes, as well as a hint of astonishment. She knew that Su Yi was not telling the truth. Such a young man was definitely not an ordinary person. His age was similar to hers, but his strength had already reached such a terrifying level. This was too shocking. Yeah. Su Yi nodded his head. After stuffing a healing pill into his mouth, his eyes constantly looked behind, worried that the Sea Dragon Gang would catch up. Fortunately, the Sea Dragon Gang members were blocked by the Black Demon Black Shark and did not chase after them. They gradually disappeared behind them. The speed of the Black Demon Black Shark, which was at Level 2 Demon True stage, was extremely fast. It broke through the surrounding waves and streaked across the surface of the sea like a water arrow. At this speed, we should be able to get out of danger soon. Seeing that Su Yi did not seem to want to say anything, Ji Hanua did not ask any further. Based on the Black Demon Black Shark speed, it would not take long for them to reach the safe zone. As long as they reached a place with many people, the Sea Dragon Gang would have some scruples and would not dare to attack them. Even if they did, the news would be sent back to the Xianjian sect. Su Yi nodded his head. His eyes were slightly solemn. He could only hope that Ji Hanua's words were true and that they would reach the safe zone soon. If they encountered a stronger Sea Dragon Gang member, Su Yi knew that he would not be able to stop them. Fortunately, the few waves of Sea Dragon Gang members that caught up to them were limited in terms of cultivation. Boom! Suddenly, the front trembled. It was as if a huge monster had suddenly emerged and stood above the vast waters. A mighty aura instantly spread out. Rumble! From a great distance away, a ray of Yuan energy light flashed across the sky like a thunderbolt. Then, it exploded in front of the Demon True stage Black Demon Black Shark that Su Yi was rapidly moving, before it viciously landed on the water's surface. Bang bang bang! Immediately, the surface of the water exploded. Like a cannonball, it caused the Black Demon Wu Sha's body to come to a halt. Monstrous waves swept out from the front and spread in all directions. Su Yi's face suddenly turned serious. He secretly circulated his Yuan Qi and looked ahead through the huge waves. The waves fell like a torrential downpour. It was as if he was looking through a thick curtain of water. A huge ship stood there, like a huge demon beast in the water. On the giant ship there were many fierce figures. Their baleful qi was shocking. Waves of strong qi rippled out. Woo woo! The black demonic black shark whimpered and looked shocked. Not good, it's Sea Dragon Gang's deputy gang leader, Qin Jian. Ji Hanua's dignified voice was immediately heard. His face had also completely changed into a dignified expression. No wonder the Sea Dragon Gang's people who were chasing after them were slightly lacking in strength. It turned out that the true experts were already blocking the front. As the towering waves fell, the huge ship in front of Su Yi also appeared in front of him in a strange manner. It was like a huge monster that was standing horizontally. The ship was at least 1,000 feet long, and its entire body was engraved with beast patterns. It shone faintly, like a huge dragon emerging from the sea, and suddenly appeared in front of Sui. On the deck, there were figures standing on both sides of the ship. On the swaying ship, these figures did not move at all. The aura on their bodies was fierce. On the deck, waves of powerful chi rippled. Light surged and a mighty aura spread out. Baleful chi filled the air. At this moment, there were many figures standing on the deck. Their clothes fluttered in the wind. Sui raised his eyes. His gaze immediately landed on a middle-aged man in his 40s on the deck. This middle-aged man was well-built. He had short black hair and wore tight clothes. His eyes were fierce and filled with light. Sea Dragon Gang's deputy gang leader. Sui frowned. With his sharp soul power, he had already sensed the chi rippling from the front. This middle-aged man was undoubtedly the Sea Dragon Gang's deputy gang leader, Qin Jian. His chi was at the Origin Void Realm. However, he should not be far from the Origin Emperor Realm. Sui frowned. His gaze was solemn. An Origin Void Realm expert that was not far from the Origin Emperor Realm. If the Green Emperor and his big brother, Merciless West, were by his side, it would naturally be fine. However, it was hard to say now. Sui did not know if the Green Emperor and his big brother, Merciless West, had awakened in the mysterious space. At the very least, he was unable to deal with such an expert at his current level. Not to mention whether he had the strength to activate the broken sword again. Even if he could activate it, the killing intent in the broken sword was not something that could be easily activated. The one at the front is the Sea Dragon Gang's deputy gang leader, Qin Jian. He is not far from the Origin Emperor Realm. Ji Hanhua said. Unknowingly, she seemed to have instinctively moved closer to Sui. I knew that I would walk right into the trap. Little girl, are you going to surrender yourself or do you want us to make you suffer? On the giant ship, a sinister voice could be heard. It was Qin Jian who spoke with a fierce expression. Qin Jian, does your Sea Dragon Gang want to be massacred? If you dare to touch me, my father and the entire Xianjian sect will definitely not let you off. At that time, they will tear you into pieces and raze your Sea Dragon Gang to the ground. Ji Hanhua gritted her teeth. Her eyes were solemn and her expression was reserved. She replied with a fierce expression. Ha 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 ha. Little girl, are you trying to threaten me? Don't talk about Xianjian sect. If they dare to attack you, they naturally have their own plans. I'm afraid that Xianjian sect will no longer exist in the Chaos region. Qin Jian sneered. He looked at Ji Hanhua and Sui faintly. It seemed that the two of them were actually riding on the back of the black demonic black shark. The Sea Dragon Gang had paid a huge price to train the black demonic black shark as their mount. Little girl, I'll give you one last chance. Surrender yourself. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Although he was confused, the most important thing now was to capture Ji Hanhua from Xianjian sect. Qin Jian did not think too much about it. He guessed that the little girl would run back to Xianjian sect's territory as soon as possible. Relying on his advantage in speed, he had already arrived at this place in advance to wait for her. Just as he expected, the little girl had walked right into his trap. Qin Jian, don't you dare. The territory of Xianjian sect is right in front of us. I have already informed the sect. I'm afraid that the experts of Xianjian sect are already on their way here. Ji Hanhua gritted her teeth and pretended to be relaxed. She hoped that she could intimidate the people from Sea Dragon Gang. That was the only thing she could do now. Is that so? Ha! Little girl, you are really cunning. Do you think that you can intimidate me? Chapter 881. Looking over, it was a young lady who seemed to be about the same age as Ji Hanhua. Her figure was similar as well. Her hair was disheveled and her delicate face could be vaguely seen. Yu Ting, when she saw the young lady, Ji Hanua's face turned pale and her expression changed drastically. Qin Jian reached out his hand and lifted the young girl up by her shoulder. However, Ji Hanua sneered and said coldly, "What a good substitution. I have underestimated you, little girl. Surrender or I will kill this lowly servant. Miss, run. Don't worry about me. Quick." The young lady with disheveled hair looked extremely weak. When she saw Ji Hanua, she did not know where the strength came from, but she immediately shouted. "Bitch, shut up!" Qin Jian shouted coldly. He exerted force with his claw and a huge force gushed out. "Ah!" the young lady screamed and a bloody hole appeared on her shoulder. Blood flowed out and the sound of bones being crushed could be heard. "You Ting bastard! How dare you!" Ji Hanua shouted. "Little girl, surrender now. Otherwise, I'll kill this bitch right now." Qin Jian sneered and stared at Ji Hanu. "Miss, don't. Run. Don't be fooled. Even if you surrender, they will not let us go." The young lady screamed and shouted. "Qin Jian, if you dare to hurt her, Xianjian sect and you will be irreconcilable. I will definitely massacre the Sea Dragon Gang." Ji Hanua said coldly and her beautiful face was filled with rage. "Since you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit, let's get it over with." A cold glint flashed in Qin Jian's eyes as he tossed the young lady away. A powerful force surged out from his body. Boom! When the young lady was thrown out of the giant ship, her graceful body exploded in the void. She did not even have the time to scream before she turned into a bloody mist and fell onto the sea. "You Ting. No, don't," a heart-wrenching voice came out of Ji Hanua's mouth. He watched as the young girl was killed in front of him and turned into a bloody mist. Not even her corpse was left. Blood gushed out from his eyes as he finally could no longer endure. "Bastard, I'll kill you!" With a heart-wrenching cry, Ji Hanua's aura surged. She clenched her 1-meter-long sword tightly and was about to jump toward the giant ship. "You're no match for him. Let's go." Su Yi pulled Ji Hanua, the yuan qi in the soles of his feet swept out, and at the same time, a scarlet light erupted from his back. A pair of scarlet wings instantly spread out, flowing with radiance, as thin as a cicada's wings. Walala, under the extremely shocked gazes of the people on the giant ship, Su Yi's body rose up, and the surrounding waves surged. A powerful aura suddenly surged out from his body, and he directly soared into the sky and fled to the side like a bolt of lightning. "That guy can actually fly." Many of the Sea Dragon Gang members on the ship were dumbfounded as they watched Su Yi soar into the sky with a flap of his wings. Ji Hanua was also somewhat stunned. This kind of method was definitely not common. "You want to escape? Chase." With a soft exclamation, Qin Jian's cold voice suddenly sounded out. His figure immediately soared into the sky and chased after Yi Qingyu. Chase. Several figures soared into the sky, and several Yuan Void stage experts flew out together, chasing after Su Yi. Chase. The giant ship shifted sideways and changed its direction. It chased after Su Yi in the direction that he had escaped, causing huge waves to form. The Yuan Qi wings rapidly flapped, and Su Yi used all his strength. After reaching the Yuan True stage, the speed of the third stage of the Fuyao 100 transformation steps had increased by quite a bit. Powerful aura undulated from behind, and Su Yi's expression became incomparably solemn. No matter how fast he was not as fast as Yuan Void stage expert. "You won't be able to escape if you bring me along. You and I don't know each other, and you've already helped me a lot. If you hand me over to them, you still have a 1 in 10,000 chance of escaping. Put me down." Ji Hanua's brows tightly knitted as she looked behind her. Under the pursuit of several Yuan Void stage experts from the Sea Dragon Gang, even with such a method, Su Yi would not be able to run far, and would be caught up in a moment. "Do you think that I'll be able to escape if I put you down?" "Do your best," Su Yi replied. He was afraid that even if he handed Ji Hanua over to the Sea Dragon Gang, He would not be able to escape. He would do his best, and if it really came to a critical moment, he could only think of ways to protect himself. Your method seems pretty good, but it's still too weak. Qin Jian's speed was much faster than Su Yi had imagined. As the distance between them grew closer, a cold smirk spread from the corner of his mouth, and his body suddenly sped up by quite a bit. At the same time, hand seals were formed in his hand. Humph! A cold snort was emitted from his throat, and a Yuan Qi energy light pillar shot out from Qin Jian's hand and immediately headed towards Su Yi. Sensing the energy fluctuation behind him, Su Yi's expression changed drastically. He immediately dodged, and his body actually managed to escape from the energy light pillar at an unimaginable angle, causing the Yuan Qi energy light pillar to directly fall into the sea, stirring up huge wave. Qin Jian's eyes were secretly filled with astonishment. However, while Su Yi was obstructed, he had already arrived behind Su Yi. Taking advantage of the situation, a palm directly slammed down, and a wave of energy immediately gushed out. Bang! This time, Su Yi was unable to dodge even if he used all his strength. Under the huge force behind his back, he was immediately crushed, and his Yuan Qi wings were also shattered. Ugh! 2 figures directly fell from the sky, and 2 mouthfuls of fresh blood were spat out from their mouths at the same time. Wipey! 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 Bang bang bang! 2 figures charged downwards, and coincidentally landed on an extremely small group of reefs below, causing the reefs to crack and dust to fly. Ugh! Ji Hanhua continuously vomited mouthfuls of blood. In front of a peak Yuan Void stage expert who was close to the Yuan Emperor stage, he was simply unable to contend. Su Yi landed on the ground and the blood in his body churned. He immediately stood up, and his condition seemed to be slightly better than Ji Hanhua's. However, Su Yi knew that the other party wanted to keep him alive, and had not used his full strength. Otherwise, the outcome could be easily imagined. TSK, 2 fellows who overestimate themselves. Especially this brat, I have underestimated you. Qin Jian's gaze landed on Su Yi, and there was some astonishment on his gloomy face. Su Yi's expression was solemn, and his mind fluctuated as he linked it with the heavenly star soul in his mind. At this moment, the only trump card he could use was the saint weapon, the heavenly star soul, which had yet to be restored. Seems like we can no longer escape. I'm sorry, I've implicated you. Ji Hanhua struggled to get up, and stood together with Su Yi. She looked miserable, and the corner of her mouth was dripping with blood. Her breath was weak, and on her fair face, she looked at Su Yi apologetically. She did not intend to implicate others. Su Yi smiled bitterly, and felt a little comforted. From Ji Hanhua's gaze, he could feel that the apology was rather sincere. Since you refuse a toast and insist on drinking a forfeit, I'll fulfill your wish. Chapter 882. Swoosh! In the next instant, a claw print formed in Qin Jian's hand, causing the surrounding air to constrict and twist together. Dazzling primordial qi radiance surged, revealing a chilling light. It swooped down from the void and instantly crushed towards Su Yi and Ji Hanhua. The claw print was sharp and its aura was vast, enveloping the void. The crushing force caused the primordial qi in Ji Hanhua's body to stop circulating. Her face turned pale and she did not have the strength to dodge. Buzz! The Origin Supreme technique was activated in Su Yi's body. The great void spirit sea produced the sound of wind and thunder, and the starry soul was moving in his mind. How dare you touch my daughter? You must be tired of living. I shall grant you your wish. Space trembled for no reason as a low and deep voice suddenly resounded at this critical moment. Boom! As the deep voice spread out, a vast aura also spread out from the sea region. Suddenly, the tides below rose and fell, and the waves swirled. The sky suddenly turned dark, and only a ray of green light appeared, as if the sun had descended. At this moment, Qin Jian's claw print stopped in the void for some reason. Qin Jian's cold gaze instantly turned into one of shock and horror. It was as if he had seen a ghost. He screamed in a heart-wrenching voice, "Sect Master Ji, this has nothing to do with me. Someone asked me to do this. Please spare my life." Spare, however, it was too late. Before Qin Jian could finish his sentence, a figure quietly appeared behind him. A claw print landed on his shoulder, and an invisible force surged out. Crack, crack, bang, bang, bang. The sound of bones breaking was accompanied by a muffled explosion of energy. Qin Jian's body exploded in the void, and blood splattered everywhere. In the blood splattering everywhere, the suppression on Ji Hanua's body disappeared. Her primordial qi surged and blocked the blood splattering outside. Her pale face was instantly filled with joy. She looked at the figure that suddenly appeared in the void, and said to Sui happily, "We are safe. My father is here." Sui looked up, and the primordial qi in his body surged, blocking the blood splattering outside. He looked up at the void. In the green light, a slender figure appeared, and from the surrounding void, the water attribute energy of heaven and earth fluctuated, and the tides in the sea region rose and fell. This was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He had a pair of deep, dark eyes, a light blue robe, and a light golden belt around his waist. He seemed to have a cultured and refined temperament, but at this moment, the aura on his body seemed to be very sharp for no reason. His entire person emitted a kind of terrifying aura. So powerful! Sui could intuitively feel the aura of such a middle-aged man. He was probably slightly stronger than his brother, Merciless West. However, he seemed to be slightly weaker than the Suruga Elder and Bing Cauldron. However, Sui could feel the aura of a king from him. It was the unique aura of a superior. At first glance, one could tell that this person had always been in a high position and was extraordinary. Not far away in the void, several original Void Realm experts from the Sea Dragon Gang had also caught up. The giant ship in the distance was coming with huge waves. Seeing the death of Qin Jian, the Sea Dragon Gang experts, who were originally overbearing with killing intent, suddenly stopped in the distance. They looked at the figure that suddenly appeared, and their eyes trembled fiercely. "Oh no, it's the Xianjian sect master Ji Tianfu. Run, run!" Someone exclaimed and immediately jumped into the air to escape. The giant ship roared, and the figures on the deck were also shocked. They turned the ship around and wanted to escape. "Humph, still want to leave? None of you can escape." Above the void, the middle-aged man's figure instantly disappeared. Rumble, in the next moment, when the middle-aged man's figure appeared again, the sea below was surging with huge waves that were hundreds of feet high. A terrifying aura surged and spread above the sea. This was the power of the middle-aged man. Run, run. The experts from the Sea Dragon Gang did not even have the heart to fight back. They were inexplicably shocked and terrified as they fled in all directions. The middle-aged man went on a killing spree. He was merciless. His figure flashed, causing the void to tremble and the sea to split open. Green light filled the sky. The water elemental energy covered half of the sky and spread out a sharp pressure. Killing intent swept across. None of the original Void Realm experts from the Sea Dragon Gang managed to escape. They were directly killed, and not even their bones were left. The giant ship of the Sea Dragon Gang was directly shattered. The Sea Dragon Gang's disciples were killed one after another. Their blood dyed the sea red and disappeared in the torrential waves. The scene in the distance caused Sui to be moved. The seemingly cultured and refined middle-aged man was so ruthless and merciless when he attacked. Far away, the shadow of a ship appeared. It seemed like there were some onlookers who stopped to watch from afar and were shocked. Whoosh! The middle-aged man's figure swept across the sky and quietly landed beside Ji Hanua. His sharp and merciless aura turned into warmth and worry. He looked at Ji Hanua and carefully sized her up. Seeing that she was in good condition, He was slightly relieved. He then handed a healing elixir to his daughter and said softly, "It's good that you're fine. Quickly take it and heal your injuries. Father, Yu Ting was killed by the Sea Dragon Gang in order to save me." Ji Hanhua took the elixir and looked at the middle-aged man in front of her. Her eyes were finally moist. "I roughly know what happened. I will deal with the Sea Dragon Gang," Ji Tianfu said. He pulled up his sleeves and gently wiped the tears from the corner of his daughter's eyes. There was a faint sharpness in his eyes as he continued to say to Ji Hanhua, "Fortunately, I came in time. Let's go back first." "Oh right. Father, his name is Sui. It's all thanks to him for saving me this time. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't be able to see your daughter again." Ji Hanhua nodded. She then held Ji Tianfu's hand and walked towards Sui. She smiled at Sui and said, "This is my father, the Xianjian sect's patriarch. We are very safe now. I will remember my daughter's kindness for saving my life. Thank you, little brother Sui. Thank you very much." Looking at Sui, Ji Tianfu's expression was sincere and his eyes were smiling. He cupped his fist and bowed to Sui in a humble manner. It was hard to imagine that such a gentle and refined middle-aged man would be such a merciless killer. However, Sui was clear that such a person was even more difficult to deal with. This person was not old. To be able to reach such a cultivation level and become the Xianjian sect's patriarch in his 40s, it meant that he was outstanding in terms of talent, strength, and means. In a place like the Chaos region, if one's strength and means were the same, it would be difficult to achieve this. "I didn't help much. You're being too polite, Patriarch Ji." Chapter 883. Looking at Su Yi's response that was neither humble nor overbearing, Ji Tianfu was secretly moved. He could not help but take a few more glances at Su Yi and asked, "May I know which sect you are from?" "I don't belong to any sect. I'm just a wandering cultivator," Su Yi replied. He was still neither humble nor overbearing. He had seen plenty of experts and superiors. Hence, he was not affected by Ji Tianfu's aura. "Haha, young hero, you're extraordinary. I'm sure you'll soar into the sky in the future." Ji Tianfu laughed and did not ask any more questions. He looked at Su Yi and handed a spatial bag to Su Yi. He then continued, "I can't repay you for saving my life. Here are some pills and spiritual herbs to express my gratitude. I hope you won't reject them." Su Yi stared at Ji Tianfu. As the sect leader of Xianjian sect, Ji Tianfu should be willing to pay a hefty price for his beloved daughter. Su Yi thought that Ji Tianfu was a free lunch. Moreover, Su Yi did put in a lot of effort and almost died. "Take it. Thank you very much this time," Ji Hanhua said softly to Su Yi. She knew that if it wasn't for Su Yi, she would have fallen into the hands of the Sea Dragon Triad. "Sect Leader Ji, you're too kind. I really didn't help much. Plus, if it wasn't for Sect Leader Ji, I would have died. So, there's no need for this. If it's convenient for Sect Leader Ji, I can trouble Sect Leader Ji to bring me to the shore," Su Yi said and did not take the spatial bag. The items in the spatial bag must be valuable. However, Su Yi could imagine that no matter how valuable it was, it must have a price. Although Su Yi was a stingy person, he would definitely not miss out on any benefit. However, they were in the Chaos region, an unfamiliar place. Su Yi knew that if he took the spatial bag, he would only get some pills and spiritual herbs which would not be of much use to him. However, if he could make the Xianjian faction's faction leader owe him a small favor, it might be of great use in the Chaos realm where he was not familiar with. Hearing this, Ji Hanhua was a little surprised and her beautiful eyes rippled. Ji Tianfu's pitch-black eyes secretly rippled as his heart was filled with shock. Such a young man, in the face of the benefits he offered, was actually unmoved. From Su Yi's eyes, Ji Tianfu could clearly see that there was no fluctuation in them. This was enough to prove that the young fellow did not care about the pills and spiritual medicines inside the interspatial bag at all, hence he was not moved at all without even looking at them. In front of him, Su-yi was neither servile nor overbearing. How could such a young man be a simple character? Haha, then I won't force you, little brother. This place is not far from land, so it's only right to bring you along. Then, I'll have to trouble you, little brother. Ji Tianfu didn't insist. He smiled faintly, his expression unchanging. Immediately after, Ji Tianfu took Su-yi and Ji Hanua and left. Air currents whistled on both sides as they crossed the sea. Our latest update. Fast thup equals VP0 gradually, the silhouettes of boats could be seen below. Soon, there was a huge port and a vast piece of land was revealed above the sea. In a mountain range where there were few people, 3 figures descended from the sky. They were Ji Tianfu, Ji Hanua and Su-yi. Su-yi looked around and saw that they were already ashore. In front of them was a mountain range. Little brother Su-yi, not far from here is one of the halls of Xianjian sect. I can see that your injuries are not light. If you don't mind, you can stay in Xianjian sect for a while. It'll be convenient for you to heal your injuries and allow me to be a good host. Ji Tianfu said to Su-yi. He could feel that Su-yi's injuries were not light. I won't trouble you, sect leader Ji. I'm used to being alone. Thank you, sect leader Ji. Goodbye. Su-yi thanked him. It would be inconvenient for him to heal his injuries in Xianjian sect. After finishing his words, he turned around and left. Hey, seeing that Su-yi was about to leave, Ji Hanua anxiously called out to Su-yi. She then felt that it was a bit abrupt. Her expression gradually changed and she asked, "Where are you going?" "I don't know. Miss Hanua, goodbye. We'll meet again if fate wills it." Su-yi stopped and turned around to say to Ji Hanua. He had a good impression of her. Judging from her expression when her maid was killed, she was truly heartbroken. However, it was a pity that he couldn't save the maid. This made Su-yi feel a little sad. Su-yi was touched by the fact that the maid was willing to die for her mistress. Such a maid shouldn't have died, but he couldn't help her. "All right then," Ji Hanua said. There was a tinge of loneliness in her eyes. Ji Tianfu saw this and his expression didn't change. He looked at his beloved daughter and threw an item to Su-yi. He said to Su-yi, "Little brother Su-yi, this is the token of Xianjian sect. If you need my help in the future, as long as Xianjian sect and I can do it, I won't reject you." Su-yi raised his hand and took the item. It was a sword-shaped token that was half a foot long. He kept it and smiled. Then, he bid farewell and left. Yuan Qi flashed under his feet and his figure disappeared into the mountain range. Looking at the direction where Su-yi disappeared, Ji Hanua's eyes were filled with emotions. A young man like him gave her a unique feeling. It was as if he had left something in her heart. However, it was hard to understand. This Su-yi is not simple. He's very special. There aren't many people who can attract my daughter's attention. Ji Tianfu said with a smile as he looked at his beloved daughter. Ji Hanua came back to her senses and her cheeks blushed. She then looked serious and said to Ji Tianfu, "Father, the Sea Dragon Gang attacked me when I went to the Divine Dragon Sea area. It seems like there's someone behind the scenes who wants to deal with Xianjian sect. Not many people know that I went out to sea. There must be a spy in Xianjian sect. The Sea Dragon Gang is backed by the Green Sanctuary sect. They could no longer hold themselves back and started to take action. However, they did not expect the Green Sanctuary sect to escape from the eyes and ears of the Xianjian sect. They secretly asked the Sea Dragon Gang to deal with you and wanted to use you to threaten me. Something big almost happened. Fortunately, it was not dangerous. Otherwise, I would not be able to live in peace. We have to go back immediately. This time, it is time for the Green Sanctuary sect to pay the price." Yuan Qi flowed under his feet and Su-yi entered the mountains. His injuries had yet to recover. After running for several times, he was injured again. Su Yi's situation was not good. He urgently needed to heal himself. Chapter 884. Within the mountain range, there were traces of demonic beasts. According to Su Yi's understanding, there were very few people around. Steep cliffs, strange rocks, and narrow natural cracks that could barely allow one person to pass through. There was a small natural cave. Inside the cave, Su Yi moved rocks to seal the door. After setting up some small traps, he called out the mysterious space. Lord! The Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon and Wolf Head Demonic Bat immediately came to Su Yi's side. Before the sacred martial assembly started, Su Yi had the Wolf Head Demonic Bat and Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon enter the mysterious space to prevent his identity from being exposed. Not long ago, when Su Yi brought the Green Emperor and Merciless West into the mysterious space, the Wolf Head Demonic Bat and Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon were both breaking through. Therefore, Su Yi did not disturb them. Before the sacred martial assembly, the Wolf Head Demonic Bat's cultivation was at the peak of the 8th level of the demon spirit realm. At this moment, the Wolf Head Demonic Bat's aura had already stepped into the 1st level of the demon true realm. The Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon's cultivation had also increased by a lot. They've woken up and are healing their injuries. The Blood Jasper Ginseng also came to Su Yi's side and informed Su Yi that the Green Emperor and Merciless West had woken up and were healing their injuries. Su Yi's gaze immediately fell on Merciless West and Green Emperor. At this moment, the Green Emperor and Merciless West had already woken up and were sitting cross-legged not far away. Their bodies were wrapped in light and their breathing was emitting light. They were healing their injuries. Seeing that Merciless West and Green Emperor had both woken up, Su Yi was completely relieved. Su Yi then looked over and saw Su Xiaoshui was also healing his injuries. His body was wrapped in flames and the scorching aura could make one's soul feel like it was on fire. Protect me. I need some time to heal my injuries, Su Yi said to the Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon and the Wolf-Headed Demon Bat. After all, this was an unfamiliar place. Su Yi wanted to recover from his injuries as soon as possible. Healing in the mysterious space would be a lot faster. Although he had set up some small traps outside, with the protection of the Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon and the Wolf-Headed Demon Bat, he still had to be at ease. After letting the Wolf-Headed Demonic Bat and Xianyang Golden Demonic Falcon go out to guard, Su Yi also found a place to sit cross-legged in the mysterious space. After continuing to take some spiritual liquid, he condensed a hand sign and began to heal. This time, Su Yi's injuries were really not light. His old injuries had not healed, and then he was chased by the Sea Dragon Gang. His injuries were even more serious. Su Yi closed his eyes. Crimson light fluctuated around his body as he revolved the Primordius Supreme Art. A dignified aura of annihilation spread out. Within this small mountain cave, a couple of figures were immersed in healing their injuries. Zhongzhou. As time passed, the frenzy of searching for the Overlord Su Yi seemed to have subsided a little. After all, everyone's enthusiasm was limited. The Sacred Mountain's reward made people excited, but there was no trace of Su Yi. There was no way to continue the search. Of course, there were also people who did not give up and were still searching everywhere. Especially the 1,000 miles around Zhongzhou City, it was bustling with excitement. Everyone thought that the Overlord Su Yi could not have escaped far and would be within 1,000 miles of Zhongzhou City. There was no news of Su Yi. Some people guessed that the Overlord Su Yi, Su Chen, and the other Heaven's Prides had died in the spatial crack. Some people also said that the Overlord Su Yi and the others had escaped and successfully hid. This was because, with their terrifying talents, if they were to appear in the Central Plains again, they would become a terrifying force. At that time, even the Sacred Mountain would have a headache and be difficult to deal with. The continuous mountain range converged into a great mountain. The continuous mountain range was filled with heaven and earth energy. Clouds and mist churned, mountain streams flowed, and waterfalls 1,000 feet high cascaded down 1,000 feet high cliff. Rare birds and strange beasts, strange flowers and grass, towering ancient trees, and spiritual herbs were everywhere. The towering mountain range was filled with wind and rain and lightning. Not far away, there was a whistling wind of frost and ice. This world was like a fairyland, vast and boundless. This was the sacred mountain, the holy land of all the cultivators in Zhongzhou. Everyone hoped that one day they could set foot here to cultivate. Everyone knew that any disciple who walked out of the sacred mountain was a powerhouse. Once they entered the sacred mountain, it meant that they would be a giant in the future, able to move unhindered. As disciples of the sacred mountain, everyone was proud and arrogant. They never put their peers outside of the sacred mountain in their eyes. They did not even care about the disciples of the 5 sects and 3 factions. Only the top disciples of the 5 sects and 3 factions would be worthy of their attention. They did have this qualification. Being able to enter the sacred mountain was already a representation of their potential and talent. However, everything that happened in the sacred martial assembly recently, Mo Beiming and Chu Zhanghuan were killed, dozens of direct disciples of the sacred mountain were killed, and Holy Son Narenryu was seriously injured to the extreme and almost died. All of this was done by the overlord Su Yi alone. When the news spread, the entire sacred mountain was shocked. For the disciples of the sacred mountain, none of them were willing to believe that everything that happened in the sacred martial assembly was true. But in front of the truth, all the disciples of the sacred mountain had no choice but to believe everything that happened. They had always been high and mighty, so there was no way they could accept such a result. It was hard to imagine that there was a peer who could be so terrifyingly strong. It was said that this matter also shocked the upper echelons of the sacred mountain. Some high-level powerhouses personally asked Wang Chuanda. In the end, when a disciple of the sacred mountain saw Wang Chuanda, it seemed that his face was full of palm prints, red and swollen like a pig's head. I heard that Su Yi was also a disciple of our sacred mountain. When Wang Chuanda returned, Su Yi was already dead. But for some reason, Su Yi went to the Xinjian gate later. This time, he had such a fierce performance in the sacred martial assembly and killed so many disciples of our sacred mountain. It's very likely that it has something to do with Wang Chuanda. Some people were discussing. This matter was no longer a secret in the sacred mountain. Su Yi was originally a disciple of the sacred mountain, but in the end, he hated the sacred mountain so much that he killed so many disciples of the sacred mountain. It was naturally related to Wang Chuanda. Wang Chuanda has a great backer behind him. If he didn't have a great backer, he would have been directly punished for missing such a talented disciple. Some disciples whispered. Su Yi's talent was too terrifying. He should have been a disciple of the sacred mountain, but in the end, he became the enemy of the sacred mountain and killed so many disciples of the sacred mountain. If he was an ordinary overlord, he would have been directly executed. Chapter 885. At the peak of the mountain, a young girl in red stood there, her eyes rippling as she stared into the distance. She murmured, "What happened back then? Why do you hate the sacred mountain so much? Why did you kill so many disciples of the sacred mountain? Something must have happened. I will find out the truth so that I can help you." Walala, in the mysterious space, there were waves of aura and the energy of heaven and earth. After 9 days, Su Yi's complexion had regained a lot of color, and his aura was no longer as weak as before. From his Dantian's great void spirit sea, there was a rumbling sound that sounded like wind and thunder. The Origin Supreme technique was extraordinary, and Su Yi had taken the blood jasper ginseng's spiritual whiskers and a lot of spiritual liquid. It was only in the mysterious space that it could have such an effect. Whoosh. At a certain moment, Su-yi withdrew his handprint, and the aura on his body slowly receded. He spat out a mouthful of turbid qi, and then his closed eyes opened. A red light flashed, like two red lightning bolts, and then calmed down. The spiritual liquid and spiritual whiskers in his body, as well as the energy of the healing elixir, had been refined. He could feel that the injuries on his body were almost healed. Su-yi was secretly delighted. But under the observation of his sensitive soul power, Su-yi frowned. He was seriously injured this time, and the most important thing was that he often used the power of the murderous intent in the broken sword, which affected his foundation. Fortunately, his foundation was strong, otherwise the consequences would be more serious. I have to be careful in the future. Su-yi frowned. Ling Qianxue had warned him that he had to be careful when using external forces, or it would harm his body. The murderous intent in the broken sword seemed to be more harmful than ordinary external forces. You seem to have recovered a lot. The blood jasper ginseng came out of the ground and felt the aura on Su-yi's body. It was also surprised. Whoosh, F-head CW hair 0, as if sensing Su-yi's awakening, not far away, a blazing aura like an open flame converged, and a colorful light faded. Su Xiaoshui flew out, flapping his wings, and immediately rushed to Su-yi. This guy is awake. I'd better go back to practice. Looking at Su Xiaoshui, the blood jasper ginseng's eyes were gloomy, and suddenly disappeared into the ground. Boss, how are you? Su Xiaoshui landed on Su-yi's shoulder, and his eyes were bright and black. Rolling. I'm fine, Su-yi replied. He knew that although his injuries were almost healed, they had affected his foundation. He needed to think of a solution. Otherwise, even though there seemed to be no problem now, it would have a huge impact on his future cultivation. Handsome Su seemed to be very satisfied with the speed of his breakthrough. There was a hint of regret in his eyes. Su-yi rolled his eyes. This guy's breakthroughs were absolutely terrifying, and yet he was still so dissatisfied. Few, at this moment, Merciless West and Green Emperor, who were not far away, also emitted waves of energy. The two withdrew their hand seals, and their auras returned to their bodies. They opened their eyes, and their faces regained some color. Big brother, how are you? Su-yi came to Merciless West's side. He felt relieved that his big brother, Merciless West, and Green Emperor's auras seemed to be fine. However, it seemed that it would take some time for them to fully recover. I'm fine now. The corner of Shi Wuqing's mouth curled into a wry smile. His injuries this time were extraordinarily serious, and he had only recovered a little. Shi Wuqing also knew that if it weren't for this spatial treasure land and the effects of the spiritual liquid and the blood jade ginseng's spiritual whiskers, he didn't know when he would be able to recover to his current state. Merciless West was very surprised that she was still alive this time. To be able to escape unscathed from Ice Cauldron and Holy Flame, who were experts of the sacred mountain, was truly a blessing from the heavens. How are you? Merciless West immediately asked Su-yi. Looking at Su-yi's complexion, Merciless West was secretly shocked. It seemed that this guy had almost recovered. His injuries were probably far more serious than hers, but he recovered at such a terrifying speed. But thinking about everything that Su-yi had, Merciless West was not that shocked. Su-yi was a monster to begin with. I'm fine too, said Su-yi with a smile. Hearing Su-yi's words, Shi Wuqing couldn't help but roll his eyes at Su-yi. He felt somewhat helpless and shocked. Recalling the scenes of the sacred martial assembly, he still felt a sense of trepidation. The guy in front of him was too abnormally strong. Then, from Su-yi, Merciless West learned that Yen Lin and Su Chen's whereabouts were unknown. Her eyes narrowed. We're fine. I hope Yen Lin and Su Chen are fine, said Merciless West softly. Su-yi also frowned. Su Diang's whereabouts were still unknown, and now Yen Lin and Su Chen's whereabouts were unknown. Heaven helps the worthy. Looking at Su Chun and Yen Lin's faces, they should be fine. Seeing Su Yi's frown, Merciless West squeezed out a smile and comforted Su Yi. I hope so. Su Yi nodded. Where are we right now? Asked Merciless West. After waking up, she did not see Su Yi in the spatial treasure land. She knew that Su Yi should be outside. He should have some understanding of the outside world. We're already in the chaos domain. Su Yi told Merciless West about the situation after waking up and that they were already in the chaos domain. He also told Merciless West about everything that happened in the Divine Dragon Sea region. Chaos domain. Merciless West was very surprised to learn that they were already in the chaos domain. However, a smile soon appeared on her face and she said, "How fortunate. We're in the chaos domain. Sacred Mountains experts won't be able to casually come in. We're safe for now." After a slight pause, Merciless West's smile faded. Then, she frowned and continued to say to Su Yi, "Sacred Mountain will definitely not let this matter rest. Once they receive news that we're in the chaos domain, even if we don't leave the chaos domain, we won't be absolutely safe." "Didn't you say that Sacred Mountains experts won't dare to casually come in the chaos domain?" asked Su Yi doubtfully. If Sacred Mountains experts didn't dare to casually come in the chaos domain, then even if he was in the chaos domain, there was nothing to be afraid of. Chapter 886. After pausing for a moment, Merciless West looked at Su Yi and continued, "The Chaos region has its own rules, but if the Holy Mountain really wants to deal with us, they naturally have countless ways to deal with us. Even if they can't enter, they can still deal with us." Su Yi's eyes sank. Hearing Merciless West's words, he already understood. The Chaos region had its own rules, otherwise it wouldn't have been the Chaos region after all these years. Many people in the Chaos region were indeed disgusted with those from the large sects coming in. But if the Holy Mountain put out a bounty to deal with him, who knows how many experts in the Chaos region would gang up on him? Anyone in the Chaos region would be more passionate about the bounty than the people in the Central region. So, there is no place that is absolutely safe. Su Yi sighed in his heart. There was no place that was absolutely safe in this world. Looking at Su Yi, Merciless West said, "That's not the case. At least in the Chaos region, if the Holy Mountain wants to deal with us, it won't be that easy. Also," Merciless West paused and stared at Su Yi, as if wanting to say something. "Big brother, what is it? Just say it." Su Yi was curious. "What do you think the Holy Mountain is feared for?" Merciless West smiled and asked Su Yi. "The Holy Mountain is full of experts." Su Yi didn't like the Holy Mountain, but he had to admit that the Holy Mountain was full of experts. It wasn't something he could deal with right now. The Holy Mountain is full of experts, but if there is only one person, no matter how strong he is, would he still be the Holy Mountain of today? Merciless West continued to ask Su Yi. "One person," Su Yi raised his eyebrows. If there was only one person in the Holy Mountain, then no matter how strong he was, there was a limit to one person's strength. If there was only one person in the Holy Mountain, then no matter how strong he was, he wouldn't be so afraid at this moment. "You seem to have a lot of grudges against the Sacred Mountain. Can you tell me why?" Merciless West asked Su Yi with a faint smile. Merciless West only found out about the enmity between Su Yi and the Sacred Mountain during the Sacred Martial Assembly, but she didn't know the specific reason. But judging from how Su Yi had killed so many disciples of the Sacred Mountain, Merciless West reckoned that it was not because of Ouyang Jinwei and her brother. It seemed that Su Yi had been a disciple of the Sacred Mountain before, and there was a deeper reason for it. Su Yi smiled bitterly. Since he had already brought his brother, Merciless West, into the mysterious space, there was nothing to hide. He told Merciless West about the Sacred Mountain's selection of disciples, how he had broken off his engagement with Lu Ruoshi, and how Wang Chuanda had killed him and robbed him of his treasures. However, Su-yi did not mention to his brother, Merciless West, that he had coincidentally met that mysterious expert at the bottom of the cliff in the barbaric demon forest. I see. After listening to Su-yi's story, Merciless West was moved and sighed inwardly. The affairs of the world were unpredictable, and fate made fools of people. If Su-yi had successfully entered the sacred mountain, he would probably be the most dazzling junior of the sacred mountain at this moment. Now, after the sacred martial assembly, those experts of the sacred mountain must be feeling very sullen. Such a heaven-defying genius should have been the future hope of the sacred mountain, the most dazzling light of the sacred mountain. But now, he had become the greatest hidden danger and opponent of the sacred mountain. Those bastards of the sacred mountain are too hateful. None of them are good. When I become an expert in the future, I will command the monster race and destroy the sacred mountain to vent boss's anger. Listening to Su-yi's story about the sacred mountain breaking off the engagement, Wang Chuanda killing him and robbing him of his treasures, and the sacred mountain's overbearing and coercion during the sacred martial assembly, Su-yi's little eyes were filled with anger and resentment. Looking at Su-yi, Merciless West secretly clicked his tongue. He absolutely didn't think Su-yi was joking. With Su-yi's status, once he grew to the legendary level, it was indeed possible for him to command the monster race and destroy the sacred mountain. The sacred mountain is very strong, but if there was only one person in the sacred mountain, would you feel more at ease? Looking away from Su-yi, Merciless West continued to ask Su-yi, a light flashing in his eyes. Probably. Su-yi nodded. Then if you weren't alone and had a group of people by your side, would the sacred mountain deal with you so casually? For example, if you really joined the Heavenly Palace and became a true disciple of the Heavenly Palace, would the sacred mountain still dare to deal with you like that? Merciless West looked at Su-yi. Phew, Su-yi remained silent and exhaled deeply, seeming to understand Merciless West's words. Boss, you're not alone. There's me, big brother, second brother, and third brother, Su-yi said seriously. That's not what I meant. With just the few of us, it's not enough. Merciless West smiled at Su-yi. Moreover, even if we can all step into a higher realm in the future, the sacred mountain has more than just a few masters. They have countless masters, too many to count. Is that so? Su-yi seemed to understand, but then he flapped his wings and his body glowed with colorful light. He said nonchalantly, I said that when I become a master, I'll command the monster race to destroy the sacred mountain. I'm afraid the sacred mountain will deal with us before you can command the monster race. Merciless West rolled her eyes at Su-yi. She didn't doubt his words at all. However, it would take a long time for Su-yi to truly grow. Moreover, Yen Lin and Su Chun were both extraordinary and had monstrous talent. Su-yi was even more ferocious. If they all grew up, they would become a terrifying force. At that time, the holy mountain would truly be apprehensive. But all of this would take a long time. This, Su-yi was speechless. He couldn't refute Merciless West. It seems that we have to prepare well, Su-yi whispered, his eyes flickering with red light. What's your plan? Merciless West asked when she saw Su-yi's expression. Big brother, you must have a suggestion in mind. Su-yi smiled. His big brother, Merciless West, had said so much. He must have already made up his mind. With Merciless West's experience and the friendship they shared in life and death, Su-yi valued this suggestion very much. Although you were a disciple of the sacred mountain in name, that's only in name. With your talent, if you want to join the Heavenly Command Palace, you'll definitely be protected and nurtured by them. In the entire Zhongzhou, only the Heavenly Command Palace can contend with the sacred mountain. As long as you join the Heavenly Command Palace and become a true disciple, the sacred mountain can't do anything to you. Chapter 887. Ha ha! Sue laughed and said to Merciless West, I've already caused a lot of trouble for Heavenly Command Palace. If there's a chance in the future, I'll have to repay them. Seeing that Sue had no intention of joining Heavenly Command Palace, Merciless West's expression changed. She then said to Sue, if you join Heavenly Command Palace, you won't have to be afraid of Sacred Mountain. With the help of Heavenly Command Palace, you'll be able to become an expert in the shortest time possible. This is an excellent choice. With Big Brother's talent and fame, if you're willing, I believe that Immortal Sword Sect, Infinite Sect, Gemini Sect, and other first-rate forces, and even Heavenly Command Palace will definitely welcome you. At that time, Big Brother won't have to be afraid of Heavenly Dragon Sect anymore. Why don't you choose to join? Sue smiled and looked at Merciless West. With Merciless West's talent and fame, joining Immortal Sword Sect, Gemini Sect, and other sects would be a piece of cake. Merciless West was speechless and rolled her eyes at Sue. Joining Heavenly Command Palace, I think it's the best choice right now. Sue continued, his eyes filled with emotions. Joining Heavenly Command Palace was definitely the best choice right now. As long as he became a true disciple of Heavenly Command Palace, he wouldn't have to be afraid of Sacred Mountain anymore, at least in the open. Moreover, with the help of Heavenly Command Palace, he could become an expert in the shortest time possible. Then why don't you join? Merciless West asked Sue with interest. If I join Heavenly Command Palace, I'll be able to receive their help and protection. Then, I'll never be able to repay their kindness. If I become an expert in the future, I'll still be a member of Heavenly Command Palace. With Heavenly Command Palace's character, they'll protect me for a lifetime, but I'm afraid they won't follow me to Sacred Mountain. Big Brother, you didn't join other sects, I think that's the reason? Sue smiled. He understood that Heavenly Command Palace was not to be trifled with. Even Sacred Mountain wouldn't dare to provoke Heavenly Command Palace. But with Heavenly Command Palace's character, they wouldn't follow him to Sacred Mountain even if he became an expert one day. Heavenly Command Palace's protection and nurturing Heavenly Command Palace's kindness. Sue had always been a person who repaid favors. It was only right and proper for him to repay favors. Sue did not join Yutian Palace, not because he was afraid of repaying the debt of gratitude. It was because Sue knew that this was not the result he wanted. What he wanted was to be able to step onto the Sacred Mountain one day. If he joined Heavenly Command sects to join Sacred Command sect, no sect, no, to join Sacred Command sect to join to Sacred Mountain to Sacred Sect. Of Heavenly Command sect to Heaven Hevto join to joins. Looking at Sue after a moment of silence, Merciless West said, It seems like you have made your choice. Looking at Merciless West, Sue smiled and said, Bawang Sect. How many people in Zhongzhou don't know about the Bawang Sect? Thinking about the Bawang Sect, Sue couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. After the Sacred Martial Assembly, the Bawang Sect's name must have spread far and wide. He had single-handedly made the name of the Overlord Sect resound throughout the central region. Sue could not help but feel a sense of pride in his heart. Merciless West raised her eyes and asked Sue, How many people are there in the Bawang Sect? Sue, who was feeling proud, suddenly froze. He smiled awkwardly and said embarrassedly, Including Big Brother, there are 2 in total. When Sue casually mentioned the Bawang Sect, it was just a substitute for Tian Yao School in front of Merciless West. But now, Sue felt that the Bawang Sect was not bad. More importantly, Sue didn't want to tell his big brother, Merciless West, about the Tian Yao School. After going through life and death together, Sue definitely trusted Merciless West. It was just that the Tian Yao School was too important. The experts that appeared in the Savage Demon Forest proved that the Tian Yao School had a lot of hidden enemies. The less he knew, the safer he would be. Su-yi didn't want to implicate his big brother, Merciless West. Merciless West was also very helpless. She rolled her eyes and said to Su-yi, including me too. What a good Bawang sect. Do you want to use the Bawang sect to deal with the Holy Mountain in the future? No, the Bawang sect still has me. Count me in. Handsome Su suddenly shouted. He naturally wanted to join his big brother's Bawang sect. Master, me too. Green Emperor, who had been silent all this time, also raised his hand. Master's Bawang sect must also include him. Why can't the Bawang sect compare to the Holy Mountain? One day, the Bawang sect will be able to stand tall in this world. Su-yi's eyes were surging with red light. His blood was boiling and surging. Why couldn't the Bawang sect compare to the Holy Mountain? One day, it would be able to contend with the Holy Mountain. A sect like the Holy Mountain can stand tall in Zhongzhou for thousands of years. How can you compare to it? Even if you can, when will that day come? I'm afraid the Holy Mountain won't give you that much time. Merciless West stared at Su-yi and said, Didn't Nalan Ryu's so-called sacred mountains, 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 sacred mountain couldn't even withstand a single blow from me? Su-yi looked at Merciless West. His eyes were shining with red light. His gaze was tenacious and his tone was firm. There was an air of arrogance in his voice. Young people don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. This world is bigger and more complicated than you think. For thousands of years there have been so many amazing people in Zhongzhou. They all wanted to shake the Holy Mountain, but in the end, who succeeded? Merciless West said to Merciless West without holding back. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Su-yi smiled at Merciless West with a calm expression and said, But shouldn't young people be like this? Born as splendid summer flowers, dying as quiet as autumn leaves. Living as a hero, dying as a hero. Su-yi paused. He took out a saber and a broken sword from his interspatial bag and carried them on his back again. He looked at Merciless West and said, Even if there are no flying generals in Dragon City, we still have the iron-blooded cold spear. We laugh at the heavens with a saber and a sword. Ha 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 ha, Yama, Merciless West, are you old or not? Ha 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 ha. Looking at Su-yi, Merciless West also laughed out loud. His sunken brown eyes surged with light. At this moment, Merciless West knew he had not misjudged him. Perhaps one day, the Bawang sect would stand tall in this world and shine brightly. Even if I fail, so what? This time I've already died. Since I've already died once, what's there to worry about? My bones are a little old, but my heart isn't. Chapter 888. Looking at his brother, Merciless West, Su-yi's eyes flashed with a red light. With his brother, Merciless West, and the Green Emperor, the Bawang sect, which he had casually created, now had two emperor-level powerhouses. Merciless West was not an ordinary emperor-level powerhouse. Su-yi thought of the old man from Xinjian Gate, who had been obsessed with swords his whole life. He started practicing martial arts at the age of 3, practiced swordsmanship at the age of 5, and was invincible among his peers at the age of 13. He comprehended swordsmanship at the age of 15, dominated the continent at the age of 30, and became one of the top powerhouses in the world at the age of 40. At the same time, he founded the Xinjian Gate, which still stood tall in Zhongzhou. Su-yi thought of himself. He was the champion of the Sacred Martial Arts Assembly at the age of 16, and was considered unrivaled among his peers. After all, he had only cultivated for a few years, and could be considered comparable to the old man from Xinjian Gate. However, the old man from Xinjian Gate comprehended swordsmanship at the age of 15, which was a rare talent. Su-yi pondered. He had cultivated the body of Vajra, Taishu spirit sea, Tianyuan demonic soul, and so on. He had narrowly escaped death, so there should not be any difference. However, the old man from Xinjiang Gate dominated the continent at the age of 30, became a top powerhouse in the world at the age of 40, and founded the Xinjiang Gate. This made Su Yi's heart surge. This was also his goal. Now that he had founded the Bawang sect at the age of 16, he still had 14 years to go until he was 30, and 24 years to go until he was 40. I should have arrived at the Chaos region a long time ago. Su Yi's thoughts fluctuated, and the corner of his mouth raised slightly. He had come to the Chaos region many times, but he was delayed in the end. Now that he had inadvertently appeared in the Chaos region, it was a coincidence that the Chaos region was suitable for him. From now on, I'll leave my old bones to you, kid. Merciless West looked at Su Yi and smiled, but his eyes were blazing. Back then, he had set the condition that Su Yi could enter the top 2 in the Sacred Martial Arts Assembly, and he would join the so-called Bawang sect. At that time, Merciless West thought that it was as difficult as climbing the sky. No matter how strong Su Yi was, could he compete with the strongest peers of the Heavenly Palace and Sacred Mountain? Moreover, the younger generation of the 5 sects and 3 factions were not easy to deal with. That was the truth. Li Qingwei, Shaoxi Jun, Qi Tianxian, and the other young geniuses of the 5 sects and 3 factions all had terrifying talent and ferocious strength. This time, the Sacred Martial Arts Assembly would be a true battle between dragons and tigers. The geniuses would compete for hegemony, and a dark horse like Yen Lin would appear, shocking everyone. However, all the geniuses, including Naren Ruyu, were overshadowed by Su Yi. In this Sacred Martial Arts Assembly, Su Yi was simply peerless. Merciless West's heart was still trembling as he recalled the scenes of the Sacred Martial Arts Assembly. With Big Brother's participation, the Bawang sect will stand tall in this world in less than 60 years, no, 50 years. I will do my best and will not disappoint Big Brother. In 50 years, I will definitely make the name of Yama, Merciless West, resound throughout the world. At that time, the Bawang sect will be the strongest force behind Big Brother, and will be under Big Brother's command. Su Yi said to Merciless West. A martial cultivator's lifespan was much longer than an ordinary person's. The higher one's cultivation, the longer one's life force would be. It wasn't strange for a profound Origin Realm cultivator to live up to 200 years old. It was rumored that the strongest experts of the major sects were terrifying existences that had lived for more than 1,000 years. In 50 years, Su Yi calculated that he was almost 70 years old. The ancestor of the Xinjiang Gate dominated the continent when he was 30 years old, and became a peak expert when he was 40 years old. He felt that if he couldn't become a peak expert when he was 70 years old, he wouldn't be able to reach the sacred mountain. Su Yi had absolute confidence in himself. Possessing the Heavenly Fei ancient scripture and the Origin Supreme technique, as well as treasures like the mysterious space, Su Yi had the confidence to compete with the strongest disciples of the major sects like the Sacred Mountain. After the verification at the Sacred Martial Assembly, Su Yi knew that he hadn't been wrong all along. In 50 years, Su Yi felt that the Bawang sect would become a powerful force by then. Even if he only counted the Green Emperor and Handsome Su, 50 years later, they would still reach an extraordinary level. Looking at Su Yi, Merciless West's eyes moved. If another 16-year-old youth had said those words, he wouldn't have believed him. Young people were just spouting nonsense and didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. However, Merciless West had no choice but to believe the youth in front of him. He knew very well that although the kid in front of him still had some childishness, he really had a chance of succeeding. He originally didn't have much of a vision for the future. The frivolity of youth had gradually died down with age and the experiences of this life. When he was young, Merciless West also wanted to dominate the world and stand proudly in the world. However, the Green Mountains were still there. There were a few times when the sun set, and the white-haired fisherman would cut wood on the river and enjoy the autumn moon and spring breeze. Things had changed with the passage of time. He was old and had great ambitions, but he was already close to his twilight years. It wasn't until he met Sue-E in this precious space that Merciless West felt that the vitality in his body hadn't disappeared. The aura of old age had disappeared, and the vitality was surging. It was as if his bones had been cleansed and his marrow had been cleansed. During the sacred martial assembly, he had fought side by side with the strongest of the younger generation. During the battle, he had become sworn brothers, which made him feel as if he had returned to his youth. Just as hot-blooded and frivolous, he once thought that he would never have that kind of feeling again in his life. However, the heavens seemed to have given him another chance. After meeting this young man in front of him, Merciless West didn't want to shrink back this time. So what if he failed? At least this time, he participated. The Chaos region might really be an opportunity. What plans do you have? Merciless West asked Sue-E. This time, he wanted to participate. Perhaps in a few decades, the name of the Bawang sect would stand tall like the 5 sects and 3 factions of the Middle State. At that time, when the name of the Bawang sect was mentioned, the name of Yama, Merciless West, would follow. It's time to make a good plan, Sue-E whispered. No matter how strong a person was, he was still a person in the end. Big Brother Merciless West's words made Sue-Ye's mind shine. If he wanted to fight against the sacred mountain, if he wanted to make others fear him, he had to rely on himself. No matter how strong he was, the effect would always be a little weaker. I heard that the Chaos region is a very special place. It's very chaotic and there are no rules. It's completely dependent on one's strength. Then Sue-E smiled and asked Merciless West. Big Brother Merciless West was definitely more familiar with the Chaos region than him. I've stayed in the Chaos region for a period of time. It's indeed so. Chapter 889. He knew that the young man in front of him had completely understood what he meant and was thinking more than him. I like this kind of place. Sue-E pursed his lips and smiled. A place like the Chaos region seemed to be very suitable for him. Then, from Merciless West, Sue-E learned a lot about the Chaos region. The Chaos region was similar to the Savage Demon Forest. It was a special place in the world. There were 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean. There were 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 factions. The top 10 factions controlled the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean. However, the Savage Demon Forest and the Chaos region were special places that the top 10 factions could not control. The Savage Demon Forest was huge. Although it had some resources, it was very poor compared to the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean. In addition, the Savage Demon Forest was remote and close to the Savage Demon Forest. That was why it was like this. Even if some of the top 10 factions wanted to get their hands on the Savage Demon Forest, they would have to worry about the demons in the forest. To a certain extent, the Savage Demon Forest was a buffer zone between the demons and humans. The demons would not let the humans control the entire Savage Demon Forest, and humans would not let the demons control the forest. The Chaos region was even more special than the Savage Demon Forest. The Chaos region was huge. It was not much different from the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean. However, no one from the 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 factions dared to get their hands on the Chaos region. The Chaos region was independent of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 ocean. It was also independent of the 1 mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 factions. Not only was the Chaos region chaotic, it was also filled with endless danger. From Merciless West's words, Sue-E confirmed that the Chaos region was a dog-eat-dog place. It was a dog-eat-dog place where the strong ruled. There was no logic to it. In addition, Su-yi had met the Xianjian sect and the Sea Dragon Triad. He had seen for himself that the strong ruled the Chaos region. Of course, the Chaos region was also a paradise for rogue cultivators. It was also a place that the disciples of the One Mountain, 2 churches, 3 sects, and 4 factions feared. Although the Chaos realm was a chaotic place where the strong were respected, and it was a place where people ate each other, everyone had a natural resistance to the large sections. If there were disciples of the One Mountain, 2 religions, 3 sects, and 4 factions in the Chaos region, they would have disappeared without a trace. Not even their bones could be found. First of all, everything that a disciple of a large sect possessed would make the eyes of countless rogue cultivators turn red. Furthermore, the Chaos realm was filled with rogue cultivators. Even if the disciples of the One Mountain, 2 religions, 3 sects, and 4 factions disappeared, they would not be able to find out anything. Moreover, even if they found out something, as long as it was in the Chaos zone, the people from the One Mountain, 2 religions, 3 sects, and 4 groups would not be able to do anything. Of course, other than rogue cultivators, there were also countless factions in the Chaos realm. When rogue cultivators gathered together, they would become factions. However, most of the time, the mountain gates of many factions would disappear after a few hours, or even sooner. In the Chaos region, it was said that there were many sects appearing every day. However, there were also many sects disappearing or being replaced every day. This was a common occurrence in the Chaos region. There were also many factions in the Chaos region that did not fall. However, this was only relative and not absolute. They were not like the 5 sects and 3 factions of the central continent. Of course, the factions that could survive in the Chaos region for a long time also represented absolute strength. Existence is strength. If you want to stand firm in the Chaos region, you need absolute strength and absolute means. Merciless West looked at Su-yi and said seriously, "If we hide our identities in the Chaos region, perhaps the people of the Holy Mountain will not discover us in a short time. We will have more time to increase our strength. However, if we want to develop the Bawang sect, I am afraid that it will not take long for the people of the Holy Mountain to find out. Although the Holy Mountain cannot interfere in the Chaos region, I am afraid that every movement in the Chaos region will be noticed by not only the Holy Mountain, but also the major factions of the 6 continents, 3 continents, and 1 sea. How long can I hide my identity?" Su-yi raised his eyes. Even if he hid his identity with everything he had, he would not be able to hide for long. If he could not hide, then he might as well expose himself. Su-yi had thought that if he wanted to become a strong expert, the Chaos region would be the most suitable place. The cruelty of the Chaos region would allow him to become a strong expert faster. The Chaos region was already cruel and chaotic enough. The Holy Mountain was not lacking. After all, the Chaos region was not a place where the Holy Mountain could interfere. Heroes were born in chaos, and heroes were born in troubled times. Su-yi understood this principle in his previous life. With his primordial origin supreme art, heavenly demon scripture, identity as a soul controller, and the mysterious space within the sphere of light, Su-yi was confident that he would one day become a powerful expert in the realm of chaos. Chapter 890. Listening to Merciless West's introduction, Su-yi guessed that there were quite a few small sects in the Chaos region. However, there were also quite a few big powers that were not below the 5 sects and 3 factions of the Central Plains. They were definitely extremely powerful. Since it was his first time here, he was not familiar with the Chaos region. He did not even know where he was. Su-yi did not have any special plans. First, he had to find a place to rest for a while. Then, he would make plans after his injuries were completely healed. Let's find a place first. I want to buy some things. This time, my injuries were not light. Fortunately, the space in your treasure is not ordinary. Otherwise, it would not be easy for me to fully recover. However, I still need some time. Let's find a place to rest first. After that, I should prepare to concoct the Emperor Heavenly Soul Pill," Merciless West said. His eyes were deep in his eye socket. After preparing for 20 years, it was time to start concocting the Emperor Heavenly Soul Pill. Emperor Heavenly Soul Pill. Su-Yi searched for information about the Emperor Heavenly Soul Pill in his mind. Then, his eyes could not help but tremble. The Emperor Heavenly Soul Pill was not an ordinary pill. It was said that its effects were shocking. Not only could it increase one's strength, but it could also strengthen the soul. It was a pill that all soul controllers dreamed of. So, Big Brother wants the Nebula Ganoderma to concoct the Emperor Heavenly Soul Pill. Thinking about the Nebula Ganoderma, Su-Yi suddenly realized that his big brother Merciless West wanted the Nebula Ganoderma. He even wanted the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng because of the Emperor Heavenly Soul Pill. It was said that the ingredients needed to concoct the Emperor Heavenly Soul Pill were not ordinary. One of them had to be the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng or the Nebula Ganoderma. The Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng and the Nebula Ganoderma had to be of an extremely high level. The higher the level of the Nebula Ganoderma and the Blood Jade Spirit Ginseng, the better the effect of the Emperor Heavenly Soul Pill. If I can successfully refine the Royal Heavenly Soul Pill, it should be able to improve my soul by a small step. Merciless West's eyes were bright and full of passion. For a soul controller, the level of one's soul was everything. His level of soul was not weak, especially in the 2 times he had been in Su-Yi's spatial treasure land and consumed the spirit elixir. He could clearly feel that not only had his entire body been cleansed, but his level of soul had also improved. However, if his soul could improve even further, then everything would be different. Big Brother will definitely succeed. Su-Yi smiled. He knew that his brother Merciless West's soul was not ordinary. It could be seen from the badge of the Imperial Palace. If his brother Merciless West's soul could improve, he would be even more powerful in the future. I hope I can succeed, but the Royal Heavenly Soul Pill is not easy to refine. Merciless West was looking forward to it, but he also knew that he had been preparing for 20 years for the Royal Heavenly Soul Pill. Last time in the Central State City, if it was not for Su-Yi, he would not have been able to obtain the Nebula Ganoderma. Moreover, when refining the Royal Heavenly Soul Pill, even those powerful alchemists would have a great chance of making mistakes. With his current strength, refining the Royal Heavenly Soul Pill would be even more dangerous and difficult. However, he did not have much time to wait. After 20 years of preparation, he wanted to refine the Royal Heavenly Soul Pill after he recovered from his injuries this time. A shrill cry resounded, piercing through the clouds and splitting rocks. A ferocious bird with a wingspan of nearly 10 zhang flew over from the front. Its entire body was golden like the sun. The golden light emitted from the golden feathers on the surface of its body was as dazzling as the sun, accompanied by a sharp and fierce aura. The Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon is in danger. Su-Yi and Merciless West raised their eyebrows at the same time. That was the Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon that had been scouting ahead. Looking at its anxious state, it must be in danger. Ao, seeing that the Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon was in danger, the wolf bat also raised its head and roared. It was as deafening as a wolf's howl. The dark blood-red wings on its back suddenly flapped violently as it rushed towards the Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon. During this period of time, the Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon and the wolf-head demonic bat had been inseparable in the mysterious space. They had fought side by side and were as close as brothers. At this moment, sensing that the Xianyang Golden Demon Falcon was in danger, the wolf-head demonic bat's body also fluctuated with blood qi. "My lord, someone is chasing me. There are quite a few of them. Some of them have reached the Yuanzhen realm, and there are even stronger ones. As fast as lightning, the Xianyang golden demon falcon immediately circled in front of the wolf-head demonic bat. It hissed in beast language and immediately spoke to Su Yi. At this moment, Su Yi finally saw that on the Xianyang golden demon falcon's left wing, there was a red arrow that pierced through it. Logically speaking, the Xianyang golden demon falcon's defense was not ordinary. The feathers on its wings were like armor, extremely difficult to penetrate. However, this red arrow was very strange. It was filled with a blazing aura, like a red-hot iron. When it pierced through the Xianyang golden demon falcon's wing, the blazing aura seemed to be expanding the bloody hole, causing blood to flow out. Woo woo! At this moment, not far behind the Xianyang golden demon falcon, there was a beastly roar. Several ferocious beasts flapped their wings and flew over. Their auras were ferocious and ferocious. Su Yi slightly raised his eyes. There were a total of 3 barbaric beasts. 2 of them were ferocious beasts. They were 2 demon spirit realm black-scaled demonic eagles. Their bloodline was not bad, and their speed was also very fast. However, they were naturally not comparable to a normal Xianyang golden demon falcon, not to mention a Xianyang golden demon falcon that had consumed the spiritual liquid in the mysterious space to cleanse its bones. The leading ferocious beast had 8 wings. It was dozens of feet long and had a ferocious serpent head. Its entire body was black and emitted a dark light. Su Yi couldn't help but take a second look at it. 8-winged dark python. Su Yi's expression changed. This 8-winged dark python was not bad. Furthermore, this 8-winged dark python had already reached level 4 demon true realm. It was no wonder that it could catch up with the Xianyang golden demon falcon. After all, the Xianyang golden demon falcon had yet to step into the demon true realm. Soon, the beasts in front had arrived in front of him. At this moment, there were several figures standing on the back of the 2 black-scaled demonic eagles and the 8-winged dark python. All of them seemed to be very excited. Su Yi's gaze was fixed on the 8-winged dark python that was at the front. There were 6 figures on the back of the 8-winged dark python. The one in front was a young man who looked to be about 27 or 28 years old. He was dressed in bright clothes. He wasn't tall, but he was a little short. His body was also extremely fat. He held a golden bow in one hand. The bow was emitting a golden radiance and mysterious runes were flickering on it. Looking at the young man, Su Yi's gaze instantly sank. It was obvious that the Xianyang golden demon falcon was injured by this person. However, standing beside the short and fat young man was an old man in a yellow robe. Su Yi took a second look at him. Chapter 891. The old man's aura was restrained, but Su Yi was certain that the old man was an expert with his sharp soul power and senses. However, he had yet to reach the level of Yuan Emperor, and was only at the level of Yuan Void Realm. Behind the short and fat youth and the old man, there were 3 burly men and a youth of similar age to the short and fat youth. That looks like a wolf-headed demonic bat. I didn't expect there to be a wolf-headed demonic bat here. As Su Yi sized them up, the gazes in front fell on Su Yi, Merciless West and the wolf-headed demonic bat. Seeing the wolf-headed demonic bat beside the Xianyang golden demonic falcon, many of them exclaimed. Aolo, the wolf-headed demonic bat screeched, its eyes were blood-red, and its blood aura was spreading. Ku, feeling the aura of the wolf-headed demonic bat, the black-scaled demonic falcon and the 8-winged dark python couldn't help but tremble. I didn't expect the Xianyang golden demonic falcon to be so extraordinary. There's actually a wolf-headed demonic bat. This wolf-headed demonic bat seems to be different. The short and fat youth stared at the wolf-headed demonic bat with blazing eyes. He didn't pay much attention to Su Yi and Merciless West. On the other hand, the hook-nosed, eagle-eyed old man frowned when his gaze fell on Merciless West, whose aura was also restrained. The former's aura gave him a feeling that he couldn't see through, which made him somewhat fearful. Seems like my Xianyang golden demonic falcon was injured by you, right? Su Yi's gaze swept across and fixed on the short and fat youth. His faint voice carried a tinge of sternness. The Xianyang golden demonic falcon had always been by his side. At this moment it was severely injured, which made Su Yi very unhappy. Lad, so this Xianyang golden demonic falcon is yours. I thought this Xianyang golden demonic falcon was from this mountain range. The short and fat youth only noticed Su Yi after hearing Su Yi's words. The 8-winged dark python under his feet flapped its wings and circled around while looking straight at Su Yi. Did my Xianyang golden demonic falcon hurt you or disturbed you? Su Yi asked. That's not important, lad. Seems like this wolf-headed demonic falcon is also yours. The stout young man didn't seem to care too much. His interest was focused on the mysterious sun golden demon falcon and the wolf-headed bat. He said, "How about this? I like the mysterious sun golden demon falcon and the wolf-headed bat very much. You give them to me, and I'll give you a few high-level star-grade pills. How about it?" "I don't intend to exchange with you," Su Yi replied. Exchanging Xianyang golden demonic falcon and wolf-headed demonic bat with a few star-grade demonic pills was just a pipe dream. Moreover, it was impossible for Su Yi to exchange the Xianyang golden demonic falcon and wolf-headed demonic bat. Even if the benefits were higher, Su Yi didn't intend to exchange the Xianyang golden demonic falcon and wolf-headed demonic bat with him. Although Su Yi had only brought the Xianyang golden demonic falcon and wolf-headed demonic bat out of the space of the Xinjian Gate, not to mention that the Xianyang golden demonic falcon and wolf-headed demonic bat were already very different from before. Their future was limitless. Even if the Xianyang golden demonic falcon and wolf-headed demonic bat had always been by his side, Su Yi would never exchange the Xianyang golden demonic falcon and wolf-headed demonic bat for anything else. Lad, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. I'm Yang Chuan, the young lord of the Gimdeo sect. I'm giving you face by taking a fancy to your mount. The short and fat young man stared at Su Yi with a scorching gaze that was filled with undisguised coldness. Yang Chuan was neither an idiot nor an idiot. To be able to own mounts like the mystic sun golden demonic falcon and the wolf-headed demonic bat, this lad in front of him seemed to have some background and identity. That was why he didn't attack him directly. He was already being very polite. Otherwise, he would have already attacked and wouldn't have wasted his breath. Gimdeo sect. Big brother, do you know about it? Su Yi raised his eyebrows and asked Merciless West. Yang Chuan had a true Void Realm expert following him and also had an 8-winged dark python at the 4th level of the Demon Truth Realm as his mount. This Gimdeo sect seemed to be not ordinary. I don't know. Maybe it's a new force. Merciless West said faintly. I don't care if you're from the Gimdeo sect or the Iron Saber sect. You'll have to pay the price for injuring my mount. Shoot yourself with an arrow, hand over your spatial pouch, and get lost. Su Yi said in a deep voice. Not to mention whether the Gimdeo sect was a major force in the Chaos region, no matter how strong it was, it couldn't be stronger than the Sacred Mountain. Moreover, Merciless West didn't know about the Gimdeo sect, so it couldn't be a major force. Injuring the mystic sun golden demonic falcon naturally meant that Yang Chuan had to pay the price. Lad, you're disrespecting my young lord. Do you want to die? Hearing Su Yi's words, the figures on the back of the 2 black-scaled demonic falcons suddenly clamored. Killing intent fluctuated as they waved their golden sabers. Yang Chuan's face turned completely gloomy. He stared at Su Yi and said in a deep voice, Lad, what did you say? I dare you to say it again. I don't care if you're from the Gimdeo sect or the Iron Saber sect. You'll have to pay the price for injuring my mount. Shoot yourself with an arrow, hand over your spatial pouch, and get lost. Su Yi said calmly. Young lord, we've already gained a lot today. Why don't we come back another day? The yellow-robed old man stared at Su-yi and Merciless West. His gaze was getting more and more serious. He frowned as he looked at the former. The former was young, but he had an aura and momentum that he couldn't see through. The black-robed old man was even more unfathomable. Moreover, the mystic sun golden demonic falcon and the wolf-headed demonic bat were mount. These two were definitely not simple. They were unmoved by the Gimdeo sect. It was better not to provoke them. Without the mystic sun golden demonic falcon and the wolf-headed demonic bat, we wouldn't have gained anything today. Yang Chuan stared at Su-yi and said to the yellow-robed old man beside him. He didn't volunteer to look for some savage beasts today. He wanted to train them into mounts for the Gimdeo sect. Although he had hunted some, they couldn't be compared to the mystic sun golden demonic falcon and the wolf-headed demonic bat in front of him. Moreover, the immature young man in front of him actually dared to disrespect him. This made him angry. All right, you've got guts. Tell me your name. What sect or sect do you belong to? I'll never kill nameless people. When the time comes, I'll send your corpse back. Yang Chuan stared at Su-yi and said in a deep voice. He wanted to take the opportunity to make some final inquiries. Although he was angry, he wasn't stupid. It was safer to get some information. I don't belong to any sect or sect. As for my name, you're not qualified to know. It seems like you don't intend to shoot yourself and hand over your spatial pouch. Su-yi's gaze turned slightly gloomy. Brat, since you don't know how to appreciate favors, then die. Yang Chuan was completely enraged. This brat actually didn't give him any face and didn't put him in his eyes. He was completely unable to restrain his anger. He shook his arm and the golden bow in his hand suddenly tightened. Yuan Qi surged from his body and poured into the bow. Buzz. P0 unspecified currency. All of a sudden, the golden bow seemed to have come to life. Golden light flowed, and the energy of heaven and earth in the surroundings began to fluctuate, making a clanging sound. A golden arrow was placed on the bowstring, and its aura was blazing. It was like an open flame, and its high temperature burned the air. Swish! Chapter 892. The golden arrow pierced through the air as if it had pierced a hole through space. The air rippled and rolled to both sides. The golden arrow appeared in front of Su-yi in an instant and expanded in front of Su-yi's eyes. It brought with it a fierce gust of wind. Desperation Yama Shi Wuqing didn't move at all. He didn't even blink. Merciless West did not know Su-yi's true strength before, but now he knew. It was true that Yang Chuan of the Golden Saber sect was at the 4th level of Yuanzhen realm, and his bow was also a treasure. However, even Nalan Ryu, who was at the 4th level of Yuanzhen realm, had been defeated by Su-yi. In comparison, even if they were at the same level of cultivation, Yang Chuan could not be compared to Nalan Ryu. Boom! In a flash, Su-yi moved, red Yuan Qi gushing out from his body. He stretched out his hand and the red Yuan Qi wrapped around his palm, as though it had condensed into a red cuticle. He directly caught the golden arrow that was as fast as lightning in his palm. One! The golden arrow clanged and a huge force gushed out along with a blazing aura. However, it was suppressed by Su-yi. Looking at the scene before them, Yang Chuan and the yellow-robed old man's expressions changed drastically. How could they not know what it meant for a young man to be able to grab the arrow with his bare hands? The young man was not old, but he was extremely powerful. Yang Chuan's expression changed drastically. Without any hesitation, he unleashed his LV5 Yuanzhen realm aura without holding back. The bow in his hand was once again filled with aura fluctuations. Once again, a golden arrow appeared and was quickly released from the bow. Swoosh swoosh, these two arrows were like two golden lightning bolts that pierced towards Su-yi's forehead and chest. At this moment, Yang Chuan's 2 arrows were even more powerful than before. Yang Chuan knew that the young man in front of him was not simple. He did not dare to be careless. Since he had already made his move, there was nothing more to say. "Humph!" Su-yi snorted, his eyes filled with coldness. Yang Chuan's first move was a killing move, and this time, he wanted to kill Su-yi. This made the chill in Su-yi's heart thicken. Boom! A vigorous aura surged as the 2 arrows flew towards Su-yi. Su-yi stretched out both of his hands. In front of his palms, Yuan Qi surged and transformed into 2 vortexes. Within the 2 vortexes, an invisible suction force surged out and swallowed the 2 arrows. The vortexes surged and dissolved the power of the golden arrows. Even the light of the arrows was greatly diminished. At that moment, Su-yi was using a technique from the Heaven Fei Ancient Sutra. It came from the blazing fire heavenly net palm. Su-yi had a sudden inspiration. He changed his blazing fire heavenly gathering palm slightly and used this method to wipe out the power of the 2 arrows. Then, he stretched out his hand and grabbed the 2 arrows again. Woo! Bestial roars resounded through the air. At this moment, the enormous 8-winged black python had already pounced over. Its 8 wings flapped in unison, bringing with it an astonishing cold, baleful aura that assailed the nostrils. Roar! Almost at the same time, in front of Su-yi, a sharp claw like a hook that was suffused with a cold light, as sharp as a blade, directly stretched out, accompanied by a wave of bloody aura, and directly swung towards the 8-winged dark python. The wolf-headed demonic bat was not to be trifled with. It had been staring at the 8-winged black python. When it saw the 8-winged black python make a move, it immediately retaliated. Sensing the aura of the wolf-headed demonic bat, the 8-winged black python's ferocious eyes suddenly surged with fear. Its entire body trembled. Just as it swooped down, the wolf-headed demonic bat left several scratches on its head. Blood spurted out as it screamed in pain. "Bastard!" Yang Chuan shouted coldly. His eyes were filled with anger. The 8-winged black python was his favorite mount. His aura surged as he drew his bow. He aimed at the wolf-headed demonic bat and was about to release the arrow. "Bastard, get down!" At this moment, a domineering and destructive aura swept out from Su-yi's body. The Origin's Supreme Technique was activated. The aura of a level 1 Yuan Zhen realm expert was released from Su-yi's body without reservation. Woo-woo! Under such an aura, the 8-winged black python and the black-scaled demonic eagle's eyes suddenly surged with fear. Their beast souls trembled and their bodies went limp. They swayed and fell from the sky. A series of exclamations came from the Gimdeo sect's disciples. Yang Chuan, who had just knocked his bow, had a drastic change in his expression. He immediately fell from the sky. "Young sect leader, be careful." The yellow-robed old man's expression also changed. He could not be bothered to be shocked by the terrifying aura that suddenly surged out from Su-yi's body. He immediately grabbed Yang Chuan and landed on the ground in a panic. Bang bang bang! However, many of the other Gimdeo sect's disciples were not as lucky as Yang Chuan. One by one, they fell to the ground and screamed incessantly. Dust and gravel were flying everywhere. However, there were also 2 middle-aged burly men who quickly stepped into the air despite being in a sorry state. Both of their cultivations had reached the level 1 Yuan Zhen realm. They were already able to step into the air and leave. "Kill him for me, quick, kill that brat!" Yang Chuan, who was still in a state of shock, had a shocked expression. He never thought that he would actually be unable to do anything to a youth that was still wet behind the ears, and was even made to be in such a sorry state. He was unable to restrain his anger and shouted loudly, "Kid, you're courting death!" The 2 Yuan Zhen realm burly men were already shocked and furious when they suffered a loss. When they heard the young sect leader's order, they both shouted out furiously, The aura of the two Yuan Zhen realm burly men suffused the air as two figures pounced towards Su-Yi like lightning. Swish, space fluctuated. For some unknown reason, the two Yuan Zhen realm burly men's figures that had just charged out suddenly stopped. The gazes in their eyes were instantly incomparably astonished. A black-robed figure had actually appeared before them like a ghost. At the same time, the origin energy within their bodies seemed to be instantly blocked, and the space around them seemed to have solidified. The black-robed figure instantly enlarged in their eyes, and with two claw marks, it was like a bolt of lightning that directly descended onto their necks. Kacha, the two Yuan Zhen realm burly men were able to clearly hear the sound of Kacha coming from their necks, then the scene before their eyes blurred, as if the heavens and the earth were spinning. They were able to see their heads being separated from their bodies as a mist of blood sprayed out. After that, they lost consciousness. Everything seemed to have fallen into endless darkness, and they would never be able to wake up again. The two Yuan Zhen realm burly men had only just attacked when they were instantly killed. It was like a high-pitched song that had only just started when it suddenly stopped. When he saw the two Yuan Zhen realm burly men being killed, and the black-robed figure appearing in the sky, the yellow-robed old man's expression had already gone completely pale. Merciless West had made a move with an indifferent expression. He didn't mind killing two Yuan Zhen realm burly men, and his gaze directly descended onto the yellow-robed old man before his figure vanished on the spot. Shit, it's an Origin Monarch realm expert. The yellow-robed old man seemed as if he'd seen a ghost, and when he saw Merciless West's figure vanish, his gaze was filled with shock as he swiftly retreated explosively. Oh! Chapter 893. Su-Yi leaped down from the sky and pounced towards Yang Chuan. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he exuded a majestic aura of destruction. Not good, this brat wants to kill me. Yang Chuan felt Su-Yi's killing intent. While the two Origin Void Realm experts were killed in an instant, Yang Chuan was still in a state of shock. He immediately drew his bow and pulled it back. Out of instinct and also out of self-preservation, an arrow was shot out. Buzz! This arrow seemed to be Yang Chuan's trump card. The previous 3 arrows were nothing compared to it. As the arrow shot out, a golden light burst out and produced a thunderous sound. The terrifying aura was like a ferocious beast awakening. It turned into a golden beast shadow and rushed towards Su-Yi. Yang Chuan's face turned pale as soon as the arrow was shot out. It seemed that this arrow had exhausted all the Yuan Qi in his body and was his strongest trump card. What a powerful treasure! Is it at the level of a Dao artifact? Su-Yi dove down, but his body was stopped by the arrow. Yang Chuan's cultivation level was not bad. He was at the 4th level of Yuan Zhen realm, the same as Narenryu. Of course, there was a natural difference between their combat strength. Yang Chuan was at the same age as Narenryu and was at the 4th level of Yuan Zhen realm. However, the difference in their talents was like heaven and earth. They could not be compared at all. However, it was the bow in Yang Chuan's hand that attracted Su-Yi's attention. The level of the bow was extraordinary, and this arrow actually had such power, which made Su-Yi's expression change. He felt that, if it was someone at the same level as Yang Chuan, except for Narenryu, other people at the same level as Yang Chuan wouldn't be able to resist this arrow. Su-Yi's figure rose into the air for a short while. He pulled out the saber from behind his back and slashed down. Aolo, as the saber swept out, the surrounding void instantly spread out into a small blazing storm. A saber light that seemed to be dragging a long red thunderbolt burst out explosively. Within the saber light, there seemed to be the shadow of a red dragon looming. The violent and sharp aura exploded and seemed to be able to cut through the void. It directly slashed towards the beast shadow formed by the golden arrow. The saber chi was monstrous and the light was dazzling. It was in a stalemate with the golden arrow. The surrounding golden light shattered like tofu. Then, the golden arrow shot out. The tip of the arrow collided with the blade. The light collided and the golden spear clashed, creating a buzzing sound. Clang! Clang! Sparks flew everywhere. Su Yi's huge saber was actually dented by the arrow. However, that arrow was also directly blocked. Its remaining power disappeared, and it fell to the ground. Su Yi's figure paused for a moment before he continued to dive down and stomped on the ground. Chi! Not far away, Merciless West's figure appeared in front of the yellow-robed old man. His eyes were filled with coldness as he struck out with his palm. The yellow-robed old man was shocked. The palm in front of him seemed simple, but it made him feel like he couldn't escape. The surrounding space seemed to have solidified. A huge spatial binding force surged towards him from all directions. Help! Elder Huang, help me! Not far away, Yang Chuan's heart-wrenching cry for help could be heard. Ignorant Yang Chuan! You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. My life is over. The yellow-robed old man's eyes were filled with despair. At that moment, he didn't have the time to care about Yang Chuan. He even felt the aura of death. At that moment, he realized that the black-robed old man in front of him was actually an expert of the Origin Emperor realm. Moreover, he wasn't an ordinary Origin Emperor realm expert. It was fine that Yang Chuan was arrogant, but he was used to being arrogant. He was getting more and more ignorant. He didn't leave when he was asked to. It was fine if he wanted to die, but he had to drag the yellow-robed old man down with him. In a panic, the yellow-robed old man could only use all his strength to set up a defense. He condensed his yuan qi and enveloped his body. He clenched his fist and faced the attack. Bang! A low muffled sound was heard. The yellow-robed old man's fist collapsed. A cracking sound was heard from his fist. A huge force surged into his body. Immediately, he vomited blood. The yuan qi in his body was in disorder. As the palm fell, the yuan qi halo in front of the yellow-robed old man crumbled inch by inch like tofu. My life is over. The yellow-robed old man's face was pale. How could he be a match for an expert of the Origin Emperor realm? This time, Yang Chuan had provoked someone they couldn't afford to provoke. He was going to die with him. Chi! A sharp aura came over. Just when the yellow-robed old man thought that he was going to die, a few seals and seals fell on him like lightning, imprisoning him. A terrifying aura surged, and the footprint fell like a meteor, rapidly expanding in Yang Chuan's slightly raised eyes. At this moment, that young man didn't look like a wet behind the ears. That radiance was dazzling. He was clearly a young genius. At this moment, that young man's terrifying aura was vast and mighty. He looked like a young war god. His black hair was draped over his shoulders. He had the aura of a hero that could sweep across all directions. At this moment, Yang Chuan wanted to block, but he found that his legs were inexplicably soft. In front of that terrifying aura, it was as if he couldn't muster up any strength. His hair stood on end. Elder Huang, save me! Save me! A heart-wrenching cry for help came out from Yang Chuan's mouth. At the same time, the last of his yuan qi burst out. In the face of death, he desperately retreated. In the face of death, Yang Chuan burst out with extraordinary strength and speed. He actually dodged Su Yi's foot and retreated a few steps forward. Boom! But it didn't seem to be of any use. Su Yi directly stomped his foot on the ground. Under his foot, a yuan qi vortex swept out like a storm. The earth trembled, the air roared, and the ground cracked. Cracks as thick as an arm spread out like a spider web. From where Su Yi's foot landed, circles of black earth attribute yuan qi energy swept out like waves. It surged out along the ground and directly hit Yang Chuan, who had just dodged. Bang! Yang Chuan, who had just dodged, didn't react. He didn't know that this foot had such a powerful and strange attack. A terrifying force surged out from the ground and rushed up. Immediately, his body trembled. The surrounding rocks on the ground were all shattered into fine powder in an instant. At the same time, the 2 black-scaled demonic eagles and the 8-winged black python that had crashed to the ground trembled under this aura. They roared and crawled, their beast souls trembling. Yang Chuan spat out a mouthful of blood. He felt that his internal organs were about to be shattered. A figure appeared like a ghost. Yang Chuan only felt a terrifying force behind him. It was unbelievably fast. Then, from the depths of his soul, a creepy feeling climbed up. Bang! A huge force surged out from behind. Yang Chuan only felt that the bones in his back were broken in an instant. His internal organs were also shattered in an instant. At this moment, Yang Chuan realized that the person who had the wolf-headed demonic bat and the Xianyang golden demonic falcon as mounts was indeed not an ordinary person. Chapter 894. The result was already decided. Yang Chuan was mercilessly killed by Su Yi. Oh no, the young sect leader is dead. Run! Run! When the remaining Golden Saber sect disciples saw that Elder Huang had been captured and their junior sect master killed, all of their hair stood on end. How could they dare to stay any longer? They all scrambled to escape, wishing that their parents had given them 2 more legs. Oh! Ku! Before Su Yi could say anything, the wolf-headed demonic bat and the Xianyang golden demon falcon had already pounced forward and started their massacre. Instantly, screams of agony could be heard. How could the remaining Gimdeo sect disciples be a match for the wolf-headed demonic bat and the Xianyang golden demon falcon? Needless to say, their speed was even slower. One by one, they became food for the wolf-headed demonic bat and the Xianyang golden demon falcon. The body of a martial artist was no different from an elixir to a barbaric beast. It had many benefits. Just like the skin and flesh of many barbaric beasts, it was also a treasure to a martial artist. Su Yi did not stay idle. He picked up the bow in Yang Chuan's hand. He was very interested in it. Although Yang Chuan's cultivation was at the 4th level of Yuan Zhen realm, his combat strength was average. However, with the help of this golden bow, his combat strength soared and became very powerful. Buzz! When Su Yi touched the golden bow, a stream of golden light suddenly burst forth from it. A huge force surged out and a sharp and scorching aura spread out, causing Su Yi's palm to tremble. The bow actually broke free from Su Yi's grasp. Walala, at the same time, the 3 golden arrows that Su Yi had taken from the Gimdeo sect disciples and the Xianyang golden demon falcon's wings that were killing the remaining Gimdeo sect disciples also took the initiative to shoot out. Along with the radiance from the golden bow, the golden arrows also shot out. In an instant, a total of 9 golden arrows surrounded the golden bow as if they had a life of their own. The 9 golden arrows were dazzling. They surrounded the golden bow as if they were going to be knocked at any time. They were pointed at Su Yi and released a scorching and terrifying aura. This scene caused Su Yi to be secretly surprised. This bow has already reached the level of a mid-grade Dao artifact. However, it seems to have sustained some damage. That said, it shouldn't be a problem. If I can find a decent artificer, I should be able to repair it. Or, I can rely on myself to nourish it. However, that will require a lot of effort and time. Merciless West's voice entered Su Yi's ears. He went to Su Yi's side and looked at the golden bow in shock. Mid-grade Dao artifact. Hearing this, Su Yi immediately revealed a look of joy. A treasure at the level of a Dao artifact, even if it was at the level of an elementary Dao artifact, was priceless. Although there seemed to be some incomplete mid-grade Dao artifacts, they were definitely precious treasures. Seems like I'm in luck. Su Yi pursed his lips and smiled. He didn't expect to have such a harvest this time. A treasure at the level of a Dao artifact was rare. Even in the 5 sects and 3 factions such as the Shinjin Gate, Blue Cloud Sect, Beast Emperor Sect, and other major sects, only the most outstanding disciples of the younger generation would be able to obtain a Tao artifact. Looking at Su Yi's smile, Merciless West already knew what was going on. With Su Yi's character, how could he let go of such a treasure? With Su Yi's character, even if it was a Yuan soldier, he wouldn't let go of it, let alone a Tao artifact. A Tao artifact has already carried the Tao and can fuse with its owner. However, a Tao artifact has a spirit and will choose its owner. You can try to communicate with it and it might choose you. However, if you can't get its approval and forcefully suppress it, you won't be able to unleash its full power. Merciless West told Su Yi that a Tao artifact wasn't a spiritual or dark artifact. It needed to be approved by the Tao artifact before it could be used. Otherwise, even if he had the strength to forcefully suppress it, he wouldn't be able to unleash its full power. Let me give it a try. Su Yi didn't think that he couldn't subdue it. Back in the Divine Sword Valley, he had heard Situ Muyang mention Tao artifacts and magic artifact. Weapons were divided into Yuan weapons, dark artifacts, spiritual artifacts, Tao artifacts, magic artifacts, and sacred artifacts. Weapons at the spiritual artifact level were already sentient and could complement their owners. Treasures at the Tao artifact level were even more superior and already had a spirit. With that, Su Yi sat cross-legged facing the spiraling golden bow. He formed a seal with his hands and a faint red light flashed out from between his eyebrows and disappeared into the void. If you have a spirit, follow me. I will do my best to help you recover and return to your peak. If there's a chance, I will definitely help you reach a higher level. How about it? Su Yi looked straight at the golden bow and asked. Buzz! The golden bow fluctuated as if it could really understand Su Yi's words and produced a series of sounds. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Suddenly, the 9 golden arrows on the golden bow trembled at the same time. The 9 arrows shot out at the same time towards Su Yi like lightning. Roar! 9 golden rays of light were like lightning, bringing along 9 mighty auras. In an instant they condensed into one arrow, and in an instant, the golden light dove into the sky. The blazing aura overflowed into the sky, and the surrounding space seemed to condense into a bright flame. A golden strange beast phantom rushed out, like a lion or a tiger, overbearing and fierce. Its aura was fierce and soul-shocking. This bow is already testing you. It wants to see if you have the qualifications to be recognized by it. Merciless West's surprised voice once again entered Su Yi's ears. He was extremely shocked in his heart. This golden bow was actually testing Su Yi so quickly. This was not common. A test, huh? Come on then. The corners of Su Yi's mouth curled up as he watched the strange beast that resembled a lion or a tiger charging towards him. He really didn't believe that a lousy fellow like Yang Chuan could make the golden bow recognize him as its master, but he couldn't. A surge of arrogance rose. Su Yi's cross-legged body leaped up. The primordial origin supreme technique was activated in his body. His eyes were covered with crimson light like crimson lightning. In an instant, his black hair danced behind him. His robe fluttered, and a vast and majestic aura of destruction burst out. Instead of advancing, Su Yi stepped out. An aura that couldn't be challenged gushed out. It was domineering, sharp, and destructive. His eyes flickered like lightning as he stared at the golden beast that resembled a lion and a tiger. Roar! In an instant, the golden strange beast seemed to have felt something. Its fierce eyes were instantly replaced by shock. The phantom trembled and stopped in front of Su Yi, as if it was crawling, with both knees half kneeling. Then, it dissipated and turned back into 9 golden arrows. Roar! The golden bow appeared, and together with the 9 golden arrows, floated in front of Su Yi. It kept vibrating like thunder, like the roar of a lion or a tiger. Su Yi's eyes trembled. He stretched out his hand and his palm reached for the golden bow. Chapter 895. At this moment, Su Yi's eyes were slightly closed as he maintained his outstretched hand. Looking at everything, Shi Wuqing's eyes couldn't help but tremble. But soon after, he shook his head helplessly and smiled helplessly. Even though the middle-grade Tao treasure seemed to be damaged, it was still a true middle-grade Tao treasure after all. Merciless West had never seen something recognized as its owner so quickly. It was as if there was no difficulty at all. However, Merciless West had already gotten used to it when he thought about all the incredible things that had happened to Su Yi. The shock that such a sworn brother brought to him was even more incredible than this. There was nothing to be surprised about. The yellow-robed elder, who had been imprisoned at the side, was also dumbfounded at this moment. After Yang Chuan was killed, he realized how powerful the young man in front of him was. How old was this young man? How could he be so terrifying? This young man definitely had an extraordinary status. Perhaps he was one of the top disciples of one of the big sections. That was why he had killed Yang Chuan without any hesitation. Yang Chuan was killed cleanly and without any hesitation. However, the expression on the young man's face when he saw the golden scale blazing heavens bow was as if he had never seen anything good before. This made the yellow-robed elder a little surprised. With this young man's talent and strength, he was definitely one of the top disciples in the big sections. Logically speaking, although the golden scale blazing heavens bow was a precious treasure, he should have a treasure that was on par with or even stronger than it. The yellow-robed elder did not think too much about it. After all, he could not even protect himself at this moment. However, he was extremely shocked when he saw that the young man had been recognized as the owner of the golden scale blazing heavens bow so quickly. He knew that Yang Chuan had spent a lot of time and effort to get the golden scale blazing heavens bow. Even with the help of the big shots, he barely managed to get the golden scale blazing heavens bow to recognize him as its owner. In the end, Yang Chuan only managed to get the golden scale blazing heavens bow to submit to him. He was not truly recognized by the golden scale blazing heavens bow. Because he had the golden scale blazing heavens bow with him, Yang Chuan had clamored to go out and hunt. He wanted to test the power of the golden scale blazing heavens bow and catch some savage beasts to train as mounts in the Gimdeo sect. Who knew that he would not be able to return from this trip? Ao. Gu, the wolf-headed demonic bat, and the Xianyang golden demonic falcon had already circled back. All the disciples of the Gimdeo sect had been swallowed into their stomach. They burped and landed not far away from Su Yi, protecting him. Not long after, Su Yi's tightly shut eyes opened. There was a flicker of light in his eyes, and then it returned to a deep and bright state. Phew, exhaling a long breath, Su Yi stretched out his hand. Golden light burst forth, and a golden bow appeared. It was overflowing with light and vibrant colors. Its aura surged, and it emitted a sonorous sound. Roar, around the golden bow, an illusory figure that looked like a lion or a tiger was about to rush out. Its aura was fierce and sharp, but it immediately retracted. Merciless West, the yellow-robed old man, the wolf-headed demonic bat, and the Xianyang golden demonic falcon felt their hearts tremble when they saw the aura of the golden bow. They could clearly feel that the golden bow in Su Yi's hands was much more powerful than in Yang Chuan's hands. It has truly recognized its master. The yellow-robed old man was shocked. He could feel that the golden scorching heavens bow had truly recognized the young man as its master. That was why it was so powerful. Looking at the golden bow in his hand, Su Yi carefully stroked and sized it up. After recognizing the golden bow as its master, Su Yi also knew the origin of the golden bow. The golden bow was very old. It was refined from the bones of the golden-scaled wild lion and the red-winged heaven tiger of the demon Grandmaster realm. It was a mid-rank Tao artifact. It seemed to have been slightly broken in a great battle, and then it was buried. Finally, it fell into the hands of Yang Chuan. Golden scorching heaven's bow, Sui whispered, his eyes trembling. The golden scorching heaven's bow was refined from the bones of the golden-scaled wild lion and the red-winged heaven tiger of the demon grandmaster realm. Putting aside how powerful the golden-scaled wild lion and the red-winged heaven tiger of the demon grandmaster realm were, the demon grandmaster realm was an existence that surpassed the emperor realm. The demon grandmaster realm was the most powerful existence in the world. The golden-scaled wild lion and the red-winged heaven tiger were also big clans of the demon clan. Since someone dared to refine the golden scorching heaven's bow with the bones of the golden-scaled wild lion and the red-winged heaven tiger, Sui reckoned that the blacksmith was definitely not an ordinary person. Ordinary blacksmiths would not have the guts to do so. If the golden-scaled wild lion and the red-winged heaven tiger clans knew that someone had refined the bones of their clan's experts into a bow, they would definitely hunt him down all over the world. $+ update X fastest UDKD0, follow me, and I will do my best to help you improve in the future. Sui looked at the golden scorching heaven's bow and liked it very much. It was a worthwhile trip to obtain this object. 1. As if it understood Sui's words, the golden scorching heaven's bow fluctuated with golden light and a blazing aura spread out. It was as if it was responding to Sui. Good bow. Sui was delighted. Although he had the sacred weapon, the starry heaven's soul shock, and the incomparably mysterious broken sword, they were all damaged. Once they were used, it was enough to cause great wave. Sui was very clear that the starry heaven's soul shock and the broken sword could not be shown in front of others unless it was a critical moment. Otherwise, it would be enough to bring about a fatal disaster. As for the other weapons, although he had collected a lot of weapons, there was nothing special. They were uneven, and when he fought with others, some of the ordinary weapons would be destroyed. At this moment, although the golden scorching heaven's bow was not a particularly suitable weapon for Sui, he felt that it was very suitable. Most importantly, if he encountered a strong enemy with a Dao artifact in hand in the future, he would not be at a disadvantage in terms of weapons. With a look of satisfaction, Sui kept the golden scorching heaven's bow. Not bad. Merciless West came to Sui's side with a smile. Although a mid-grade Dao artifact was slightly damaged, it was still a precious treasure. This was an unexpected gain. Hee. Sui smiled at Merciless West, and then his gaze fell on the yellow-robed old man. Coincidentally, there are some things that I want to know. It is still useful to keep it. Merciless West said to Sui. Big brother, you are very thoughtful. Sui smiled and said. He slowly walked forward and sized up the yellow-robed old man. His cultivation was almost at the origin void realm, and he was considered an absolute expert. You better answer honestly when I ask you a question. Otherwise, I guarantee that you will regret it. Merciless West said to the yellow-robed old man. He did not say anything superfluous. His eyes were deep in the eye sockets, and there was a chill surging. I will tell you everything I know. Chapter 896. He was currently sealed and his life was in the hands of the other party. If he wanted to live, he could only comply. He didn't want to die yet. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, he wouldn't let it go. Therefore, he chose to comply. Sui and Merciless West understood a lot from the yellow-robed old man. It turned out that there was a vast mountain range nearby. There were millions of towering mountains and steep ridges. There were many barbaric beasts entrenched there. There were also many barbaric beasts kings and barbaric beasts emperors, which made many forces fearful. However, because of this, there weren't any major forces in the vicinity. Even if there were many small forces in the periphery, there were also some lone cultivators that came and went. It was said that there were many experts in seclusion within the millions of towering mountains and steep ridges. In order to improve themselves, they were isolated from the rest of the world. In recent years, the Gimdeo sect had risen in the periphery and became a force that couldn't be underestimated. In recent years, the Gimdeo sect had gradually annexed many small forces in the vicinity and became the largest force in the area. This time, the young sect master of the Gimdeo sect, Yang Chuan, had just obtained the golden scale blazing sky bow. Therefore, he came to the mountain range to hunt and test the power of the golden scale blazing sky bow. How's the strength of the Gimdeo sect? Sui looked at the yellow-robed old man and asked. The Gimdeo sect has been developing rapidly in recent years. Yang Chuan's father, Yang Baikuan, is now the sect master of the Gimdeo sect. His cultivation is already at the 5th level of the Origin Emperor realm. In addition, the Gimdeo sect has 3 other Origin Emperor realm experts under Yang Baikuan. The yellow-robed old man said with radiance flickering in his eyes. The Origin Emperor realm had always been a step that he wanted to take, but he couldn't. The strongest one is at the 5th level of the Origin Emperor realm? Sui raised his eyebrows. After killing Yang Chuan, he naturally had to be on guard. He understood the strength of the Gimdeo sect. Although the Gimdeo sect had a few Origin Emperor realm experts, the strongest one was only at the 5th level of the Origin Emperor realm. They weren't much of a threat. His eldest brother, Merciless West, was able to contend with the 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm experts of the Sky Dragon sect. The Green Emperor was already at the 3rd level of the Demon Emperor realm. Green Emperor's combat power. Because of him. Because of him. I see. Sui had some doubts. Although the strength of the Gimdeo sect wasn't weak, it wasn't particularly strong. To be able to rise and conquer so many forces in the vicinity, it seemed to be a little strong. It turned out that the Gimdeo sect had someone stronger than Yang Baikuan. What should we do with this person? Merciless West looked at the yellow-robed old man and asked Sui. He was almost done asking. Sui's eyes flashed with coldness. This wasn't the time to be soft-hearted. He had just killed the young master of the Gimdeo sect. If he left this person alive, he would be looking for trouble for himself. My lord, I have only joined the Golden Saber sect for a short period of time. I only joined the Golden Saber sect because the sect master of the Golden Saber sect, Yang Baikuan, promised that he could find a way for me to step into the Origin Emperor realm as soon as possible. If my lord can spare my life, I, Huang Jian, will pledge my life to follow you from today onwards. I am even willing to be your slave. If my lord feels that I am unreliable, then please give me a quick death on account of the fact that I have answered your questions without hiding anything. Looking at Suyi's eyes, the yellow-robed old man Huang Jian knew what was going on. From what he had seen, although the young man and the old man seemed to be brothers, it was obvious that the young man was the one who made the decision. He was clear about the current situation. The young man had killed Yang Chuan, so how could he let him go so easily? He only wanted a chance to live. As long as there was a chance, he didn't want to miss it. But if he had to die, he wanted to die a quick death. You do have some magnanimity. Hearing Huang Jian's words, Sui was a little surprised. He looked at the old man before him with ripples in his eyes. An Origin Void Realm expert who was only a step away from the Origin Emperor realm was definitely an expert. If he could trust this person, he could keep him by his side. Why should I trust you? The coldness in Suyi's eyes had yet to fade. If he couldn't trust this person, it would be a hidden danger if he kept such an Origin Void Realm expert by his side. This person was a member of the Gimdeo sect. If he could surrender now, he could betray him in the future. This was the Chaos region. Everyone here was used to the rules of the Chaos region. Sui wouldn't trust him so easily. I, Huang Jian, can swear to the heavens. Light flickered in Huang Jian's eyes. It was as if he had grabbed onto a life-saving straw when he was drowning. If he could make this young man believe him, he could keep his life. He didn't want to die. No one wanted to die. Can an oath be trusted? Sui shook his head. He never believed in oaths, especially in the chaos region. Huang Jian's eyes suddenly dimmed. He couldn't make the other party believe him. There is a way. This is a bone-devouring soul pill. You should be able to make us believe you after you consume it. Merciless West said. A black and red pill appeared in her hand. It was flowing with a lusterless aura that made one's soul uncomfortable. Huang Jian's eyes immediately fell on the soul-devouring pill in Merciless West's hand. His eyes trembled violently. Then, he stared at Merciless West as if he had seen a ghost and said, "Bone-devouring soul pill? Are you Merciless West, Yama?" Yama. It's just a nickname given to me by others," Merciless West said indifferently. His face was calm. When he heard Merciless West's admission, Huang Jian couldn't help but gasp. If he had known that this black-robed old man was Merciless West, he wouldn't have cared if Yang Chuan was courting death. He would have been the first to run away. Merciless West, Yama, was a terrifying existence. Not only was he powerful, but more importantly, Merciless West was capable of doing things. Looking at Huang Jian's reaction, Sui was a little surprised. It seemed like his brother, Yama, Merciless West, was also very famous in the Chaos region. Since you know about the bone-devouring soul pill, you should know the effects of the soul-devouring pill. Choose whether you want to consume it or not. Merciless West stared at Huang Jian and formed a hand seal. His yuan qi surged. Then, a few rays of light fell from his hand and unlocked the seal on Huang Jian's body. Chapter 897. Of course I know about the bone-soul-devouring pill. It's still on sale in the Chaos domain. It's said that after taking the bone-soul-devouring pill, you have to take the antidote every 2 years. Otherwise, your body will rot, your bones and flesh will be separated, and your soul will be slowly devoured. You will suffer endless torment, and you won't even be able to commit suicide. Looking at the bone-soul-devouring pill in Merciless West's hand, Huang Jian couldn't help but shudder. He had heard of the bone-soul-devouring pill. It could still be found in the Chaos domain, but it was incomparably expensive. It was said that the only person who could concoct the bone-devouring soul pill was the absolute Yama, Shi Wuqing. As for the antidote for the bone-devouring soul pill, it was said that only the absolute Yama, Shi Wuqing, could concoct it. Once he took the bone-soul-devouring pill, if he didn't have the antidote, the pain would be worse than death. Huang Jian knew that once he consumed the bone-devouring soul pill, he would be completely under the control of these two people from then on. He would have to obey their orders. But if he didn't take the bone-soul-devouring pill, he wouldn't be able to escape and would die here. This was his choice and also his last chance. There's actually such a pill. Hearing Huang Jian's words, Sui couldn't help but feel his hair stand on end. His gaze fell on the bone-soul-devouring pill in Merciless West's hand, and he couldn't help but feel his heart tremble. Take the bone-soul-devouring pill, and I'll give you the antidote on time. Otherwise, you can kill yourself now. Merciless West's face was cold, and her eyes were filled with a faint cold light. Huang Jian's eyes flickered as he hesitated. Looking at Merciless West and Sui, Huang Jian didn't hesitate for long. He took the bone-soul-devouring pill in Merciless West's hand, gritted his teeth, and swallowed it. Good, now you can make us believe you. Merciless West nodded. Her face was still calm, and there wasn't much fluctuation. Greetings, lords. Huang Jian bowed. After consuming the bone-devouring soul pill, he managed to keep his life. But from now on, he would only listen to the two of them. Elder Huang, there's no need to be so courteous. We're going to be a family in the future. When the time comes, I'll definitely think of a way to put in a good word for Elder Huang and get my big brother to cure you completely." The coldness in Su Yi's eyes was completely replaced by enthusiasm, and there was a smile on his face. He was like a completely different person from before, as if they were a family. Seeing Su Yi's enthusiasm, Huang Jian found it hard to get used to it. He was a little dumbfounded. This young man's passionate look was completely different from the fierce manner he had when he was fighting just now. However, Huang Jian was very clear that he had lived for so long. How could he not understand Su Yi's words? This young man's words were clearly soft but firm. The meaning behind his words was clear. If he followed Zhang Xian wholeheartedly in the future, he might be able to cure the poison of the bone-devouring soul pill one day. However, if he was disloyal, his fate could be imagined. No wonder Merciless West wants this young man to be the leader. At this moment, Huang Jian finally understood. No wonder the dignified Yama Merciless West wants this young man to be the leader. Just based on these words, with his life experience and sharp eyes, he could roughly judge this young man. This young man was not a good person. Looking at Su Yi, Merciless West helplessly curled his lip. This kid's face changed faster than flipping a book. In the future, I'll definitely follow the two lords. I'll go through water and tread on fire, and I won't shy away from death. Huang Jian bowed without a trace. After consuming the bone-devouring soul pill, he had no other choice. Head? PB0 square root equals, Elder Huang, you don't have to be so polite. My Bawang sect is lacking a protector. In the future, Elder Huang will join my Bawang sect and become the first protector of the Bawang sect. From now on, you can call Elder Huang Protector Huang. You can also call me Sect Master. Su Yi enthusiastically patted Huang Jian's shoulder. He was very satisfied. The Bawang sect finally had one more person. Bawang sect's first protector. Huang Jian was a little stunned. He had never heard of this Bawang sect. The Bawang sect has just been established. Protector Huang will know in the future. Looking at Huang Jian's expression, Su Yi smiled. Huang Jian finally understood. This young man wasn't a disciple of a large sect. He came here with Merciless West and seemed to be a rogue cultivator. No wonder he killed Yang Chuan without any fear. As long as no one knew, the Gimdeo sect wouldn't know who killed Yang Chuan. As for you guys, I'll give you a chance. You can submit to me or go back. I won't make things difficult for you. Su Yi's gaze fell on the 8-winged dark python and the 2 black-scaled demonic eagles not far away. He looked at the 3 beasts and asked calmly. The 3 beasts trembled and hesitated. Woo-woo. Suddenly, the 8-winged dark python hissed and flapped its 8 wings. It then soared into the sky and turned around to leave. The 2 black-scaled demonic eagles hesitated for a moment, then soared into the sky and followed behind the 8-winged dark python. At this moment, Su Yi's calm eyes suddenly flashed with a cold light. His left arm shook and a golden light burst out. His right arm pulled the bow and 3 golden arrows were released in an instant. Shio shio shio, the 3 arrows were released at the same time. They were like 3 bolts of golden lightning, carrying a blazing aura. The 3 beasts' expressions changed. They couldn't dodge. The 3 bolts of golden lightning pierced through the bodies of the 3 beasts. The 3 beasts screamed and fell to the ground, blood spraying everywhere. Su Yi kept the bow and his expression returned to normal. He smiled and said, "That's good. I haven't had a good meal for a long time." Hearing this, Merciless West's calm expression suddenly turned into a smile. Only Huang Jian's heart was filled with complicated emotions. It wasn't difficult for him to know that the 3 brute beasts that the young man killed were just a warning to others. Behind the young man's smile, there was a clean and sharp killing intent. If he didn't choose to consume the bone-devouring soul pill, he would have ended up like the 3 brute beasts. Then, under Huang Jian's astonished gaze, the young man dismembered the black-scaled demonic eagle and the 8-winged dark python. He let the wolf-headed demonic bat and the Xianyang golden demonic falcon grab the 8-winged dark python and the black-scaled demonic eagle's wings and left. 2 hours later, they found a secluded place with mountains, rivers, and rocks. Huang Jian saw an even more ferocious scene. The young man seemed to carry a big pot and seasoning with him. He actually set up the stove and cleaned the black-scaled demonic eagle's wings and the 8-winged dark python's meat. He even marinated it for a while. Finally, he stewed the snake meat into soup and roasted the bird wings. Not long after, the aroma of the roasted meat assailed their nostrils. The roasted meat was golden in color and oil splattered everywhere. It made people drool. Merciless West was already eating heartily. He even had good wine on him. He didn't care about his image at all. Protector Huang, this is good stuff. Come and try it. Su Yi handed a big piece of roasted meat to Huang Jian with a smile on his face. Huang Jian couldn't resist the aroma of the roasted meat. Although a cultivator at his level didn't need to eat, a human's natural appetite would always exist. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.